roughly two people on either side, and you're the one who has to break the tie. So I have to ask you, which way are you leaning? Because, look, there are compelling arguments. If India sacrifices the moral high ground by choosing escalation, by being the more, straight on power that is not reacting, but actually prospectively targeting, being preemptive, etc., people will say that, look, like Israel, you are the ones who are the bloodthirsty ones, you are the ones who want the war, the other ones are trying to find a diplomatic solution, etc. So, where do you come in on this?
The 14 days that went by after Pahalgam to starting of operations, I think so after the 5th or the 6th day, the same rhetoric began. Why are we delaying? Why? What is the hurry? They have killed our people. Why have we not reacted? We are a weak state. We are falling into the eyes of the global people that the fourth largest economy cannot take out a rogue country. All that thing went on. Now that the operations have begun, now we are in a hurry to take out, their sea lanes of communication. We want to take out their establishments and other things. My take on the whole issue is that we have taken certain steps which have never been taken in last 65 to 70 years. First, after the 65 wars, three wars after 1960, never ever the Indus water treaty was held in a mess. This we did on the first day itself, the first announcement which the Foreign Secretary made. Second observation, I mentioned it earlier, who is driving the narrative here? I told this after the last Balakot strike. Who did the briefing after the Balakot strike? It was not the army, it was not the Ministry of Defense, it was not the Defense Secretary, it was done by the Foreign Secretary. India's image of this government, I feel, is wanting to turn things through diplomatic channels. Who received PM Modi when he cut short from Saudi Arabia and came? Foreign Secretary. Who is briefing him now, or who briefed him that day in Parliament? Foreign Secretary. Who is conducting the briefing every day now is the Foreign Secretary. So India has engaged 180 countries out of 193 to put across our position after each action. So the strategy, in my opinion, and the people seated who are taking decisions are much more wiser than I feel that we are discussing here. So they are aware of the whole things, how it unfolds, how it takes. Now, certain key factors. Striking Punjab in Pakistan has never been done since 1971. Taking out targets right next to GHQ or the Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters with precision has never been done. So slowly, if you see the war waging, it is the new dimension that we have seen. It is closer to Israel-Hamas kind of a conflict.
Okay.
Because the Hamas people did come to POK a few months ago.
Yeah.
And the warfare which we are doing now, the loitering munitions, we are seeing the drone warfare in swarms. We are using the use of satellites. We are using, the last attacks.
But aren't they doing more of that, sir? Isn't the Pakistani side doing more of that? We've only sent 4 across. Let's just admit it.
They are picking it up from that side.
Okay.
So the warfare which is being done in West Asia is being replicated by some sort by Pakistan. So you're absolutely correct on that observation.
No, but it's quite clear, sir, that those strikes that you're talking about, and again, let me just bring in Brahma Chileni, those strikes that you're talking about before we go to the reporters, because I want to get quick updates. There's news coming out of the IMF here. They're meeting because the IMF is wanting to, or at least the Pakistanis want the IMF to give it a bailout, and that would be catastrophic at this time because the money won't be used on the public welfare. They'll take it in their public's name, but they'll use it to pump up and buy more weapons and this, that, the other. There are plenty of people who want to sell it to them, the Chinese, the Turkish people. So this is an important interdiction by India. And number 2, of course, we just want to get a quick status update. Loud bangs being heard around the LOC. So I just want to go to the reporter for that. But I want to bring you in, Mr. Chileni, before I do that. Look, fundamentally, those strikes that we conducted in the first round, yes, we took out terror camps. It's looking very bad for Pakistan. It's in Punjab, etc. But clearly it's not failed to deter them. They've come after our military installations. It was admitted today.
Yes, but look at this stance of taking the high moral ground. In my career, I've only come across in India this stance of taking the high moral ground. I've never seen it anywhere else in the world. It's not, you never see it in international relations discourse.
It's a Nehruvian hangover. It's a Nehruvian hangover.
It's a form of escapism from realism. So there's no morality in international relations.
Okay.
Let's be clear.
Okay, so you're saying don't invest in this too much. Let's put our national interest first. Okay, just hold your thoughts, because I'm being told that there has been developments there. India has made a strong case to deny Pakistan the funds, and I want to go straight across to Pallavi Ghosh, who's joining me for more on this. Pallavi, what are you hearing? This is a big moment, really, isn't it? It could be a point of inflection. I saw the Pakistani stock exchange rise because they're anticipating some big monies today.
Well, it's a little disappointing, I would say, what happened at the IMF. India, of course, came out with a very strong statement. It gave evidence to show that how there's a lot of diversion of the money which the IMF gives to Pakistan into terror activities, and it's not being used for development. It also raised the point that it's been a defaulter, and also that there has been scant. The people of Pakistan have not benefited with these kind of bailouts. Yet what we get to hear is that IMF has considered yet another bailout. However, whenever that voting took place, India has abstained. It has made its point of view very clear to IMF, and has also made the point to the world that, you cannot hold us responsible. We warned you, we consistently warn you, but you, in a sense, are also funding the terror activities of Pakistan by giving them this kind of a bailout.
So are you saying that it's going Pakistan's way? Is that what you're saying? What is the outcome? Has the statement come out?
Yes, Rahul, in fact, there are many parameters, just to put the picture correctly, there are many parameters on which funds are given to countries who are on that list. So there are 25 countries with executive directors who are a part of that meeting, and that statement which has now been issued by the finance ministry also makes it very clear. And the last line, I would say, is very significant, that India put forward its point of view, which IMF understands. However, we decide to abstain, and that makes the picture very clear. It also did say that it's unfortunate in a sense that IMF has considered a further bailout to Pakistan, because it's sure that this money is going to be used as far as terror funding is concerned.
And we are sitting on the moral high ground, viewers. The IMF is not sitting on a moral high ground. That's exactly the point that Mr. Chileni was making. And I want to bring in Tilak Devasher and Mr. Chileni. I'll just check back with you, Pallavi, just stay on there, because let's read that statement, and I want you to read it for me in just about 2 minutes. I just want to get quick reactions. Tilak Devasher, this is not good news. This is not good news. Let's be honest.
Exactly. So, that's what I said, you have to understand that Pakistan does not appreciate restraint and responsibility. I have no problem with what the Air Marshal said, that our strike initially on the first day was decisive, never been done before, took out 9 terror training camps. But the follow-up and the pushback that came from Pakistan, we over the last 2 days seem to have, sort of pulled our punches and adopted the moral high ground. I think we should be far more decisive. I'm not saying cross the border. I'm not saying go and do any action inside Pakistan. But certainly with drones, apart from being defensive and blocking the drones, I think we should be also hitting Lahore and Sialkot and Rawalpindi and Karachi as much as what 300, 400 drones are being, are sending on to India. We should be far more decisive in that.
Well, maybe this will now shake us up. Maybe this will shake us up. I don't know if Pallavi is still there. If Pallavi is still there, I just want her back. We're going to try and get her to read that statement. That's not great news. Brahma Chileni, not great news. I also feel very disappointed that the Americans haven't stood in our corner. They have a lot of influence on the IMF.
Well, today, what the IMF has done, or is about to do, is to put its stamp of approval on a staff agreement with Pakistan. We should have begun exerting pressure on the IMF much earlier with the help of a friendly administration in Washington. We didn't do that. When the Biden administration, it was the Biden administration that first provided the big bailout.
Yeah.
So now this is the second bailout. The second bailout of which today the IMF is going to release immediately a $1 billion payment to Pakistan and trigger a new $1.3 billion loan to Pakistan. But when Joe Biden initiated this bailout business for Pakistan, we didn't protest. We didn't say it should be contingent on Pakistan taking concrete counterterrorism action. Look what Biden did. He helped Pakistan gain that big bailout. Then immediately thereafter, Biden unveiled a $450 million deal to modernize and upgrade Pakistan's F-16 fleet against India.
Yeah.
He also helped Pakistan to escape from the FATF grey list.
Well, viewers, look, this is not going down too well. You can keep doing all your diplomacy and all that, but when it comes to putting deterrence back, you have to take immediate kinetic steps, and they have to happen in a reasonable period. I'm not saying let's rush in today, let's rush in tomorrow. Take your time for all you want, but make sure that when you hit, you're going to hit hard this time. None of this namby-pamby sending 4 drones this way, that way, sniffing around and coming back. That won't work now, viewers. That won't work. We need to act immediately before Pakistan uses all this money to bolster itself up. One second, I just want to bring in Pallavi here, and after also that, I want to go across to Akash for the latest. We are hearing that the front is opening again. It's going all the way down to Rajasthan. That's what I'm hearing. But Pallavi, just read out that statement if you already have that with you. If you could, that would be great, because get a sense really of the factors at play there in that IMF decision.
Yeah, it's a very brief statement, but I'm just going to read out the very relevant portions, Rahul, considering that, we have other news to go to.
Yeah.
It talks about that the IMF has today reviewed the extended fund facility lending program, which is $1 billion, and also considered a fresh resilience and sustainability facility. It's called the RSF, which is a lending program of $1.3 billion for Pakistan, which means Pakistan has got that bailout. As an active and responsible member country, India has raised concerns over the efficacy of IMF programs in case of Pakistan giving its poor track record. It also ends it by saying that India flagged the Pakistan chapter of the IMF report. The IMF took note of India's self-statements and its abstention from the vote. So it went to vote, and India has abstained from that voting. Not very great news, but it also, I think, also exposes the double standards of organizations which talk about curbing terror, but they also, in a way, end up funding that kind of a terror. We all know very quickly, Rahul, where this extra bailout package will be used for.
Absolutely. Look, viewers, count on yourselves. You have to be Atmanirbhar. You have to fight your own battles. Can't be looking for others to bail you out. And diplomacy has its limitations. For 70 years, we tried that. We tried diplomacy. I just want to go straight across to Akash to get a few updates now. Akash, on the situation that we're seeing around the LOC, where is most of this concentrated? We're being told, and I don't know if we have that update, Rajasthan, 4 Pakistani drones sighted in Jaisalmer. This time, the intensity is not that great, but they are certainly still harrying our forces, isn't it?
It seems like, it is getting repeated, like what we saw yesterday. I won't comment on the intensity because, in fact, in Jammu, I'm in Jammu right now, Rahul, and, I have heard at least, 15 to 16 explosion sounds, in fact, in the last few minutes. As far as Jammu is concerned, so we have been told that air defense system thwarted the attempt. Once again, it was tried on, the FO station and also the airport. Both of these properties are close, in fact, very close. And other than Jammu, we have been, in fact, told that Nagrota is affected. Samba is affected, Rajouri is affected in sense that they have been targeted. But yes, air defense system is very much active. And then, yes, you rightly pointed out in Rajasthan and in Punjab as well. We are seeing multiple places, on target. But then we have our agencies with the air defense system. And in fact, these attempts are thwarted. Now, we cannot see it on a daily basis, Rahul. This is one point that I wanted to make. We have seen the press conference today where, it was categorically mentioned that how several sites were targeted, in fact, yesterday. But as far as our operation or our reply is concerned, our retaliation is concerned, so nothing much was said in the press conference. And this is the reason why now, in fact, I was listening to you, in fact, and you have been saying that there should be a strong retaliation. It cannot be go like, daily, on a daily basis, drones are coming, we have got air sirens and, our AD system working, and then, we are destroying their radars and systems.
Yeah,
definitely
because there's a toll, there's a price being paid. As Tilak Deveshwar said, that there's a price being paid, and you're there, you're in Jammu, and you know where the citizens are. They're sort of, some of them have moved out of their homes to safer areas. along the LOC, a large number of people are in their bunkers. Some of them have been pulled back from the villages in the forward areas. So clearly there is dislocation. Some have died, some have been killed. So this can't go on. Frankly, this can't go on. But viewers, Akash, isn't that really what's also happening? The public there is also paying a bit of a price. Before I move on to the next segment of this show, which is a very important one, viewers, because we have another fifth column in this country that wants dialogue, if you please, in the middle of all this. So I'll come to that. But Akash, yes.
Yes, of course. Citizens are impacted even when they are not getting hit, or civilian properties are not getting hit because of the air defense. You have after 8 p.m. you have the blackout. People cannot go to the place where they want to go. They have been asked to in fact complete their work before 6 p.m., before 5 p.m. In fact, I was talking to shopkeepers nearby airport, and they were saying that they have been asked to close their shops, shut their shops by 5 p.m. So of course, civilians and in fact citizens are paying the price.
And the airspace is shut.
In fact, I want to highlight it.
Jammu airport, Srinagar airport, several airports, airspace is shut. So there's also that cost being added, viewers. This is a time for decisive action now, I feel at least. And that's what we were saying and that's what we were discussing. But Akash, just stay on. I'll come back to you in just about a few minutes. But I just want to, viewers, focus on another aspect of this story. We have our panel with us. We also have General Iyer with us. And I'm going to bring him into this conversation. But India has begun to suffocate, at least that much we can see. Pakistan, it's feeling the heat militarily, diplomatically, and most importantly, economically. The sustained pressure applied by Prime Minister Modi has steadily given India the upper hand. There's no doubt about that. But just when India has got itself now in a position to inflict sustained punishment on Pakistan, provided, of course, we go forward with that intent. Just when we are coming to that point, there is a clamor here on our soil for de-escalation and dialogue. Yes, Mehbooba Mufti, the PDP chief, held a press conference today saying people are dying and getting displaced on both sides of the border. There's an argument, need for restraint. Heads of both nations should aim for de-escalation. Then there's the All India Muslim Personal Law Board that's come out and said both nations should resolve matters via dialogue. War is not a solution, especially with nuclear weapons. India and Pakistan cannot afford a war. Now, it all sounds very rational. No one wants a war. But we certainly want some cost to be inflicted upon Pakistan so it doesn't constantly harry us. And the AMPLB goes on to say that conflict could plunge millions into suffering. Then there's John Brittus, the CPIM MP, who says, as a mature democracy, we should try to de-escalate the situation. Hapless civilians in Jammu and Kashmir should be protected. Biman Bose of the CPM says, instead of escalating to war, it is now time for negotiation and diplomacy. Even Tagore was against war. He saw it as a symbol of destruction. He always advocated for peace over conflict. Now, the question is, would going in for de-escalation be considered by Pakistan as a sign of weakness? Remember, we want to tell them, don't mess with us again. Don't try this again. Now, if you go and suddenly say, no, let's have talks, let's open the back channel, let's sit across from each other, book a conference room, let's do a, bilateralism as it's called, let's bury the hatchet, and let's work to a solution where both of us decide that we can be better neighbors, etc., etc. Pakistan will say, well, we tested them. They did a little bit. After that, they didn't have the appetite. Am I right, General Iyer, or am I wrong to presume this?
Rahul, firstly, thank you for having me on your show, and good evening to my fellow panelists.
Yeah.
Firstly, Rahul, let's look at what happened on the 7th.
Yeah.
Right. The first statement which we put out, there is a line which you also have been using for the last 2 days, that we have achieved our aim and we don't want to escalate it any further. Right. Till yesterday, we were looking at a time when Pakistan is going to get itself off-ramp from the system, from this current status. Right. What has he done to us? He sent a set of drones, possibly launched some missiles into our area, which is possibly, he was trying to create a kind of a scenario where he can possibly exit at a higher note. We have not allowed him to do so. Secondly, the people you have mentioned who want dialogue, they don't even represent a percentage, even percentage is too high in terms of support in this country. They are irrelevant people. It is not something that we should be looking at. I am sure they were not even part of the all-party meet, which was called by the Prime Minister, and to discuss what India's action should be. Now for us to, and I totally support General Pandey's viewpoint when he was trying to put across a point, when you have put out a statement that we have done what we had to do, now we want to de-escalate, that was our first line. to escalate it further, there has to be a very, very substantial case. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening by a set of few drones coming into Jammu, or like I said in the beginning, in the morning also,
I think we've lost that.
line of
Yeah,
control
yeah.
cannot be, equated.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Hello?
Yes, yes, I can,
Can
hear
you
you
hear
now.
me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Can you hear?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I said line of control cannot be equated to what is happening on the mainland. Line of control, the day he stepped out of the Simla agreement, it went hot. And it has just escalated one level when he started opening heavy equipment. We are responding in the same lines. So please keep that aside. And there is multiple amount of things you can do on the line of control to give him a bloody nose. So that I'm sure our army and our armed forces are doing in due course of time in that area. And General Pandey has been the corps commander, and he knows how things are to be, escalated.
No, but this whole business of coming and saying that let's now call it off, let's have a conversation, let's have dialogue. Are you in favor of that?
No, I'm not.
No,
But
you're not.
who are these people?
Who are these people?
Who are these people?
They're a political.
Who are these people?
Well,
no,
you know-
these people don't represent. Sorry, Rahul.
Yeah.
These people don't represent even 1% of India.
No,
They don't
actually,
have support
I'll tell you,
in
this
India.
is just the political face of a large number of others in civil society who are in very powerful places. I haven't even listed the civilians who've been asking for this.
I look at the political face of
Yeah.
what represents the all-party meeting.
Okay.
Where, United
Okay, let me get in General Pandey and Air Marshal also. General Pandey, very quickly on this demand. Go for dialogue.
Yeah, well,
De-escalate.
Rahul,
Yeah.
Rahul, I just want to say that I've been in Kashmir enough to tell you one thing.
Yeah.
That even at this stage, Mehbooba Mufti doesn't even command respect from even the crevices of Kashmir, where she had some sort of a say.
Actually, General
right?
Pandey, I've
And
been politically
I'm
correct
frankly-
here. There are several academics. There are, it's the ecosystem. Several academics. There are several journalists today. There are several influential thinkers. There are intellectuals. There's a whole, a whole ecosystem behind this. I've only taken the political faces because they are public figures.
Rahul,
in that sense, yes.
if you're talking of the numbers, there are huge numbers who want, including Brahmachalani ji, who's sitting across,
Yeah.
Tilak Deveshar Saab, who's sitting across, very, very respectable people, thinkers, strategic thinkers, who are wanting to go ahead.
Yeah.
Right? These are the voices, and I am listening to those voices. My timelines are being pushed across with these approaches also. So, by no means, when you take the spectrum of population of 1.4 billion,
Okay.
there will be not even a faction to faction of people who will be thinking on the lines. Even those people who are in Jammu taking the hits, right? They will be thinking that please stop this.
Okay.
I can assure you that they are the ones who will be coming up and say, please let's go and finish this thing once for all. I just want to diverse a little bit. Please don't understand that I'm saying that there should be no war or such like things. I have been very consistent in all formats, starting from last 1 year when I've been allowed to come onto the television, that we should not talk to these idiots. Second is, we need to decide that what will change the strategic orientation.
That's right.
Is it going to just go for a full-fledged war immediately? We'll do it.
No.
They have handed over a stick to us.
Yeah.
Let's take our time to go
Sure.
for this war.
I buy
in
that
the
point.
entire time, right?
Yes.
And we will get it.
Prepare well, and once you get your strategy together, Air Marshal, then go for the kill. That's what you're saying basically, isn't it? You're also on that same page. Air Marshal. Yeah. Air Marshal. Yeah.
When the white people left the subcontinent, the 1948 war is an example which I'll just narrate. India and Pakistan fought, but the generals from the both sides are Britishers. It's the only war in the mankind when the two opposing armies had the generals from the same country.
Okay.
Now, what we have inherited is left by that. Ever since, the Americans have had a soft corner for the Pakistanis. Whatsoever you may say, after the last attack at Balakot, we gave example of AMRAAM, F-16, everything. Nothing happened. The Americans didn't, Lincoln I did. So, this may be a trap in which India must be, taken to now. Why is this conflict started when the trade war has begun? Why did on 16th April Asim Munir made that statement of Hindu and true ideology? Why did 6 days after that we kill Hindus by this thing? So he wants to divide the community. Why did he allow only the Sikhs to go to Gurudwara when they closed the border?
I understand all of that.
So it may be a larger plot, which our leadership must be reading well, and we are avoiding to walk into that trap.
Well, Brahmachaleni, quick wrap out from you, 34, 35, maybe 1 minute at the maximum. Yes, please.
Unfortunately, there are some Indians who see options only at extreme ends. Continue a weak-kneed approach or face an all-out war. Between these two positions is plenty of other ground.
Yes.
There are more than 100 different options today between low intensity military campaign of the type that we are seeing and a full-fledged war. 100 different options lie between these two extremes. Yet there are some people in India who say that the only other option to turning the other cheek is war.
Okay, well, viewers, I'm going to end this show by putting out those pictures of the Prime Minister meeting with the 3 defense chiefs, with the RM, with the NSA. Those are the pictures, viewers. This is one of those moments in this campaign for justice, viewers, that could prove decisive. There is clearly a lot of thinking going on in the Union capital. The outcome of that will reflect, I don't know, tomorrow, tonight, maybe. Who knows? We don't know. But I just hope it does in a decisive way. That's all I'm saying, a decisive way. I'm not baying for blood, I'm not wanting war. I'm just saying there should be a decisive outcome. We should make our impression that will lead to a change of mindsets in those that run Pakistan, so that they don't continue to, at any level or the other, gestate these notions that they can continuously cut us with this subcritical warfare that they have designed. I leave it at this, viewers. Lots more coming up. Don't go away.
Presented by
All right. I want to move on to another piece of breaking news that's just coming through. We're given to understand that a former Lashkar-e-Taiba operative and in aid of the Lashkar-e-Taiba founder Hafiz Saeed has exposed the outfit. He says that many youths motivated by Hafiz Saeed's speeches and then joined the Lashkar-e-Taiba subsequently traveled to Afghanistan as well as to Kashmir in India. Approximately 500 individuals from across the country traveled to Afghanistan to undergo training at a camp named Maskar Taiba that's located in Kunar province. He says Hafiz Saeed is also responsible for the deaths of thousands of Pakistanis by sending them in a war of ashes to achieve the state's political goals. This is something that Noor Dari, that's the name of the individual. He's a former Lashkar operative. Tejinder has more details on this. Tejinder, read the tea leaves for us. What does this necessarily mean?
See, Zaka, this Noor Dari right now is the executive director for ITCT, which is an international think tank that exposes Islamist terrorists. He says that his mother wanted him to become a doctor, but he like thousands of Pakistanis were motivated by the speeches given by the LET founder Hafiz Saeed. He says that he was appointed as the aide of Hafiz Saeed. He used to guard him in the Murtkai camp where he was deputed, and he says that Hafiz Saeed was traveling in a blue Toyota Wigo pickup Datsun. So Hafiz Saeed is responsible, as per Dahari, Hafiz Saeed is responsible for the death of thousands of Pakistani youth whom they motivate through his lectures. They join his terror outfit. They are sent to Afghanistan. They are sent to Kashmir, and they become a cannon fodder for the so-called war which Hafiz Saeed and other terrorists are fighting. He says that there are millions of Pakistanis and who have been motivated by the speech of Hafiz Saeed, and they have joined the terror cult of LED. He says that he took a decision finally because he saw that this will get him nothing, so he left LED, and he was made fun by the other LED members, saying that he was coward, that is why he was leaving it, but he realized that Hafiz Saeed would lead them to nowhere. So finally, he right now in UK, settled there, and is working with one of the international think tanks as an executive director. So this person has exposed Hafiz Saeed and how this terror factory is radicalizing the youth of Pakistan, the youth who could have taken a pen, who could have taken a stethoscope to become a doctor or an engineer, but Hafiz Saeed and his ilk is making these people the cannon fodder for their so-called jihad, training them in several terror training camps across Pakistan, in borders with Afghanistan, and then sending them to fight and get killed in Kashmir. He says that thousands of Pakistani youth who are trained by Hafiz Saeed are sent across into Jammu and Kashmir to fight this so-called war, and 90% of them never return. They get killed by the Indian armed forces. So clearly exposing Hafiz Saeed and his terror factory. Yes, Zaka.
Jinder, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. So that's a former operative of the Lashkar-e-Taiba exposing the founder and the chief architect of one of the most dreaded terror organizations, an organization that's wanted for numerous terror attacks here in India. His headquarters, of course, was bombed in Operation Sindoor a couple of days ago. Meanwhile, let's bring you up to speed with where things are as of right now. In the last 24 hours, Pakistan has made multiple attempts to breach India's air defense systems, but the good news is India's air defense has prevailed against Pakistani missiles and drones. The army has managed to neutralize the air defense system in Lahore after Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern as well as western India. When Pakistan made failed attempts to send a swarm of drones across at least half a dozen, if not a dozen places along the line of control and the international border, over 40 to 50 drones, and this is what the Indian Army statement said earlier today, over 40 to 50 drones were successfully neutralized in a 3-4 hour period from about 8:30 in the evening yesterday all the way up to about midnight. The engagement involved extensive use of the L-70 guns, the Zu-23 Shilkas, and of course other advanced counter-UAS equipment, including of course the S-400s and the indigenously built Akash surface-to-air missiles. It also showed the Army's capability to counter these aerial threats. So what are these weapon systems, these air defense systems which were activated yesterday and managed to avert what could have been a big sort of barrage of attacks by the enemy on Indian soil? The L-70, it's developed by Bofors, it's produced under the license here in India. It's a 40mm gun, modernized with radars, electro-optical sensors, and also auto-tracking systems. It can fire anywhere between 250 to 300 rounds per minute.
Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Day 3 of Operation Sindoor, the fighting is intensifying. Pakistan has fired 300 to 400 drones into India. Most of them have been neutralized, no damage reported. India fired back and has stepped up its war preparedness. But here's the million-dollar question. Are we at war with Pakistan? The answer officially is no, and we'll tell you why. Meanwhile, there's a third party in this conflict. Pakistan is using Chinese weapons to strike at India. A special report on India's stellar air defense. We tell you how the Indian forces blocked drones and downed missiles from Pakistan. On international airwaves, India is winning the narrative war. We'll tell you how. Also debunking fake news and Pakistani propaganda designed to create panic. Tracking the IMF meeting. Will they bail out Pakistan again? From 26/11 to Pahalgam, how Prime Minister Modi has set a new precedent to secure India. What this escalation means for you, we'll tell you 5 things that you must know. Also a report on how civilians are coming under Pakistani fire. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. The Board of Control for Cricket in India suspends the Indian Premier League or IPL for a week. The decision comes amid escalating tensions between India and Pakistan. On Thursday, the match in Dharamsala was called off over security concerns. The IPL was to wind up on the 25th of May in Kolkata. Russian President Vladimir Putin vows Moscow will be victorious in Ukraine, just as the Soviet Union was in World War II. He made the remark during Moscow's Victory Day parade, where Russia showcased attack drones for the first time. At the parade, Putin sat with China's Xi Jinping and greeted North Korean military officers. Iranian Foreign Minister will visit Saudi Arabia and Qatar tomorrow, just days before Donald Trump begins a regional tour. Trump is scheduled to visit Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE from the 13th to the 16th of May. This will be his first major foreign trip since he returned to the White House in January. It comes amid US-Iran negotiations over Tehran's nuclear program. A Sri Lankan Air Force helicopter crashes during a graduation ceremony, killing 6 of the 12 military personnel on board. The helicopter plunged into a reservoir during a demonstration. The tragedy is the Sri Lankan Air Force's worst one since a Chinese-built aircraft crashed in 2020. Drone strikes hit the Sudanese city of Port Sudan for the 6th straight day. The army has once again blamed the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces or RSF for this attack. Since last Sunday, the port city has been hit by daily drone strikes. Port Sudan is the main entry point for humanitarian aid into the Sudan. And the new Pope says, don't reduce Jesus to a superman. Pope Leo's address to cardinals came less than 24 hours after his election. His inauguration mass will take place on Sunday in St. Peter's Square. The 69-year-old is the first American Pope. Different night, same story. Jammu has once again plunged into darkness. We are getting videos from different parts of the region. They show complete blackout in parts of Jammu. In the background, you can hear air raid sirens and explosions. And this is exactly what happened last night as well. This is exactly how it played out. Close to 9 p.m., reports came in about Pakistani drones over Jammu. This time, sirens are ringing in Punjab's Firozpur as well. Take a look at these pictures. The Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister is himself posting updates. He has confirmed sounds of explosions in Jammu, most likely from heavy artillery. That's what he said. He's also issued an appeal to the people living in this area. Stay off the streets and stay at home. That's what the Chief Minister is asking people to do. Beyond Jammu, drones have reportedly been spotted over Pathankot as well. We're hearing that Indian air defenses have been activated again. I would like to repeat that this is exactly how it played out yesterday. The first reports came from Jammu of projectiles from across the border being fired at Jammu, followed by a blackout and a response from India's air defense system. Subsequently, multiple sites in India were targeted. We'll tell you about that shortly. But this is playing out yet again for the second time in 2 days. The first reports again coming from Jammu. These are pictures from Firozpur, as you can see, and similar reports coming from Pathankot as well. The Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir making an appeal, asking people to stay indoors. And a blackout, as you can see, is very much in place. Sirens ringing loud across these cities. There's one question everyone is asking. Are we at war? Well, some journalists have declared it already. Some social media users are asking for it. But are we truly in a state of war with Pakistan? As of now, the answer is no. And we'll explain why tonight. We'll also tell you how India usually declares a war. But first, let's get you the battlefield updates. Yesterday night was tense and chaotic. Between 8 and 9 p.m. IST, Pakistan started firing projectiles at India. We brought you these pictures yesterday. Bright dots could be seen over the skies in northern and western India. The first reports came in from Jammu. But similar scenes were seen in Punjab and Rajasthan as well. Information was hard to come by last night, but now the fog of war has lifted. And here's what we can tell you about what happened there. Pakistan targeted sites across the western frontier, all the way from Leh to Gujarat. At least 36 Indian locations were targeted. This includes Pathankot, Udhampur, Jammu and Jaisalmer. Pakistan fired some 300 to 400 drones. Apparently, the idea was to test the Indian air defenses, perhaps even to gather intelligence. But the Indian military was ready for it. They neutralized most of these Pakistani drones. Later on, another armed drone targeted the air base in Bathinda. That too was neutralized by India. But the army admitted some losses and injuries, though the extent is not clear. I'm sure you've all seen pictures of these Pakistani attacks. Despite that, despite all of these videos circulating, Islamabad has denied responsibility. They claim that no attack was launched on India by them. Today, New Delhi slammed that narrative. The Foreign Secretary of India called it another example of Pakistani duplicity.
The official and blatantly farcical denial of these attacks that Pakistan carried out by the Pakistani state machinery is yet another example of their duplicity and the new depths that they are plumbing in their quest for disinformation. This is nothing but a desperate attempt by Pakistan to disown its acts of aggression, but it is also true to type in its effort to deceive and mislead the world. It will not succeed.
Pakistan can deny all they want, but there is proof of their attack from last night. Projectiles have been discovered from at least 4 sites, from Jaisalmer, from Hoshiarpur, from Bathinda and from Rajouri. Take a look at this.
Hello.
As expected, India hit back after this Pakistani escalation. We fired drones at 4 Pakistani sites and we took out 1 air defense radar. Now remember, 1 air defense system in Lahore was destroyed on Thursday morning, so this would mark the second successful hit. In other words, India has destroyed 2 air defense systems of Pakistan in one day. In addition, India has confirmed major losses to Pakistani forces, though once again the specifics are missing. Now, all of this was happening over Indian and Pakistani airspaces, a very dangerous exchange of fire, yet Pakistan did not close their airspace. Let me simplify that for you. Pakistan allowed civilian planes to fly over the region while launching drones at India. Basically, they use civilian planes as shields. It is the definition of a rogue terrorist state. Indian officials pointed that out today. They highlighted that 1 civilian passenger plane was flying overhead during the attack. Take a look at this.
The screenshot we just showed and we shall share with you. It shows the data of the application Flight Radar 24 during a high air defense alert situation in the Punjab sector. As you have seen, the airspace on the Indian side is absolutely devoid of civil air traffic due to our declared closure. However, there are civil airlines flying the air route between Karachi and Lahore. Amongst the other civil aircraft that you can see, we have highlighted an aircraft which is Airbus 320 of Flynas Aviation, which was originated from Dammam at 1750 hours and landed later at Lahore at 2110 hours in the night.
That sums up the updates from the skies. On the ground too, Pakistan was escalating. Around 11 p.m. last night, there was an infiltration attempt. It happened in the Samba sector of Jammu. A group of terrorists tried to enter Indian territory and Pakistani rangers were giving them cover fire. But India's border security force of BSF was quick to respond. They killed at least 7 of these terrorists. They also inflicted damage on the Pakistani post on the other side. Have a look. These are worrying signs for the region. A, Pakistan is escalating despite warnings from India. B, they are refusing to take responsibility for their attacks. And C, they are putting civilians at risk, both on land and in the skies. Look at what they're doing near the line of control. This is the de facto border between India and Pakistan, the LOC, line of control. And here Pakistan is openly firing at civilians. In the skies, they're putting airliners at risk. So India must be mindful of what we're dealing with. This is not a country that plays by the rules. This is a rogue, duplicitous country, which is why New Delhi is covering all bases. Today, Prime Minister Modi convened a meeting of the service chiefs. He took stock of the situation and the readiness. The Home Minister of India convened a meeting of the border security agencies. He spoke to the chiefs of the BSF, the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, and the CISF, the Central Industrial Security Force. So clearly India is ready for everything, which brings me back to the original question. Are we at war with Pakistan? The answer is no, and I'll tell you why. War refers to a sustained state of conflict. Both sides will look to keep escalating. They may also have clearly defined political or tactical goals. That is what a war technically is. We are not at that stage here. India certainly is not looking to escalate. New Delhi has called its actions measured and focused. And Pakistan, they have promised to attack India again, but it's not clear if they want to go beyond that. So as things stand, this is a tit-for-tat situation. This is a low-intensity conflict, but yes, it can explode into a full-fledged war at any point in time. Pakistan seems keen on it. Their defense minister says there is no option but war. Of course, this is the legendary Khwaja Asif. So let's wait for 24 hours to see if he makes another U-turn. Nonetheless, if war does break out, who declares it? How does it happen? In many countries, there are rules about declaring war. For example, we have the United States. Their law says only the Congress can declare war. In Indian law, there is no equivalent. What comes close is the declaration of emergency. You can declare a state of emergency if a war breaks out. That decision is taken by the Union Cabinet. It is then approved by the Indian President and finally passed by both houses of Parliament. Of course, we are very far away from all of that. This conflict could end right now if Pakistan de-escalates, if they abandon their ego and follow common sense. Pakistan strikes have exposed one more country, and that is China, their iron brother, ATM, and arms supplier. Pakistan is getting all the help from China. Beijing, which offered to mediate 2 days back, is not a spectator on the sidelines. It is an active player in this conflict. And I'll show you how with a video. This is a field in India's northern state of Punjab. This morning, some missile debris was recovered from here. No crater, no blast, just a wreck. It shouldn't have been there. And it shouldn't have fallen this way. Security teams have cordoned off the site and some early but unconfirmed assessments are in. They say that this could be a Chinese PL-15 missile. China's so-called next-generation air-to-air missile. It is meant to be precise, fast and lethal. But from these pictures, it appears that the missile did not even detonate. It fell to the ground like a heap of metal. Was this an operation failure? Or was it just another Chinese product that did not work? Either way, India should take this discovery seriously because clearly Chinese hardware has been deployed against India. The PL-15 is one of China's most advanced munitions. It is designed by the Air Force of the PLA, the People's Liberation Army. This is the Chinese Air Force, basically. The missile boasts a range of up to 300 kilometers. In theory, it can change course after it is fired. In theory, it can also outsmart jamming systems. But in practice, it just landed in a field in India. It is possible that the missile was fired during Pakistan's barrage last night. Remember, Indian air defenses have intercepted almost all incoming threats, missiles, drones, everything was shot down. A lot of debris has been found and it offers more clues of Chinese involvement. More photographs have surfaced online. One of them shows a part of a missile. You can see a serial number printed on it. There's also a small panel. Apparently, this is used to test the missile's tracking system. Another picture shows the tracking device itself. That's part of the missile which helps find its targets. If these claims are officially verified, this would be the first time a Chinese PL-15 was used in combat. It seems Pakistan just got these missiles. China is said to have delivered them right after the Pahalgam terror attack. So when India retaliated with Operation Sindoor, Pakistan may have decided to use these to fire back their fresh supply of Chinese weapons. Chinese jets too have seen some action. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar has confirmed that. He said the J-10C fighters were used during combat and that China was kept fully informed about this, which basically means that China and Pakistan are working together. There is real-time coordination and planning, and that should not come as a surprise. China is Pakistan's largest weapons supplier. We have data from 2019 to 2023. In these 4 years, 82% of Pakistan's arms imports came from China. But the alliance goes beyond weapons. It is strategic and political. After the Pahalgam attack, China has defended Pakistan. On the 27th of April, that's 5 days after the attack, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke to Ishaq Dar, the Pakistani Foreign Minister, and Wang Yi echoed Islamabad's talking points. He called for an impartial investigation. He called Pakistan an ironclad friend. He backed what he called Pakistan's legitimate security concerns. And after Operation Sindoor, Beijing issued similar statements.
China finds India's military operation early this morning regrettable. We are concerned about the ongoing situation. India and Pakistan will always be each other's neighbors that cannot move away.
Clearly, China has picked a side. It may claim neutrality, but its actions say otherwise. It is arming Pakistan, it is advising Pakistan, it is defending Pakistan. China is a third party in this conflict. And it presents a broader threat to India, a threat that we cannot afford to ignore. Vantage continues after a short break.
All right, we're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
I'm hearing the sirens. In fact, here in Jammu, I'm not allowed to go outside because of the light and some sort of restrictions that are in place. Zaka, yes, we are learning about one drone attack here in Jammu. In fact, defense sources are telling us, and we have heard multiple firing sounds as well. You rightly pointed out on line of control, we are having ceasefire violations in different sectors, not only in Jammu but in Kashmir as well. In Uri and Kupwara, we have been reporting since evening. And at this point in time, in Poonch and in Samba, we are learning about this ceasefire violation from Pakistan, where they are in fact firing the artillery. Here in Jammu, I have heard multiple sounds. I was trying to count 11 at least. I have heard, and I am learning. In fact, defense sources are telling me that it was drone once again, for a drone attack once again. We'll wait for the police to confirm it as well. But I am learning that yesterday it was the airport, and once again it is in the close vicinity, possibly the airport only. And agencies are in fact using the AD systems and AD guns to thwart these attempts. Once again, it is Pakistan trying to attack the infrastructure, and not only in Jammu. We have been learning about these sort of activities in different areas. Tejinder is reporting in fact about Pathankot and Samba as well. We have a colleague Anshul and Anvit in different areas as well. They have been reporting about blackout and sirens. But as far as Jammu is concerned, Zaka, so it is very important. It is the international border though, but it's a very part of the sort of attack that was carried out. In fact, yesterday it got started with Jammu only, and at around 8 p.m. This evening also, we heard sirens, and soon after that a blackout was there. Yes, it's a precautionary measure, Zaka, but it has been categorically mentioned by the police and the civil authorities that people cannot stay outdoor, and in fact that they need to go inside whenever they are hearing these sort of sounds, and in fact whenever there is blackout they need to go indoors.
Okay, Akash, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. So yes, ceasefire violations are happening in Samba, in Uri, in Tangdar, all across the line of control. We're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
Let me tell you about last night. India's skies turned into a battlefield. Pakistan launched a brazen aerial assault. They fired 300 to 400 drones and some missiles. 36 locations were targeted. Military sites and civilian areas came under attack. This was across northern and western India. Pakistan's intentions were pretty clear. They wanted to escalate tensions, but the Indian armed forces stood tall. They shot down all incoming projectiles. No casualties, no damage, just debris of the projectiles scattered everywhere. Pakistan's aggression became an embarrassment. Let me tell you how last night unfolded. Visuals of the Pakistani attack came in after 8 in the night, post 8 p.m. The first city to report the aerial intrusion was Jammu. It is 60 kilometers away from Pakistan. Air raid sirens went off in Jammu. Then there was a blackout. Within minutes, Pakistani drones and missiles were seen over the city. Indian armed forces countered the attack. The incoming threats were taken out in less than an hour. At least 8 missiles were shot down over Jammu. A few drones were taken out over Udhampur and Srinagar. 2 Pakistani armed drones were destroyed in Naushera. These are all places in Jammu and Kashmir. Turkish armed drones were used by Pakistan, and they were the ones neutralized here. Turkish armed drones. Pakistan attempted to target military stations in Punjab. Their drones over Pathankot and Batinda were also shot down. Listen to this.
अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा और नियंत्रण रेखा पर लेह से लेकर सरक्रीक तक 36 स्थानों पर 300 से 400 लगभग ड्रोनों का इस्तेमाल घुसपैठ का प्रयास करने के लिए किया गया। भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने काइनेटिक व नॉन काइनेटिक साधनों का उपयोग करके इनमें से कई ड्रोन्स को मार गिराया। इतने बड़े पैमाने पर हवाई घुसपैठों का संभावित उद्देश्य वायु रक्षा प्रणालियों का परीक्षण करना और खुफिया जानकारी इकट्ठा करना था। ड्रोन के मलबे की फोरेंसिक जांच की जा रही है। प्रारंभिक रिपोर्ट्स से पता चलता है कि वे तुर्की के असीस गार्ड सोंगर ड्रोन्स हैं।
The Indian Army and Air Force worked together. A range of weapons were used for the defense, both kinetic and non-kinetic. What does that mean? Let me start with the kinetic. Weapons that explode on impact. For example, missiles. The Akash missile system saw action last night. They are operated by the Air Force and the Army. This weapon is completely made in India. It can take out multiple aerial targets at the same time. Last night, it proved its mettle. Let me tell you about some of the other weapons that were used. Like the L-70 anti-aircraft gun. It played a major role in defending Jammu last night. It is operated by the Indian Army. This gun is equipped with an auto-tracking radar. Basically, it automatically fires any aerial threat it detects. And it has an impressive rate of fire. This gun churns out almost 300 rounds per minute. So we've told you about the Akash system and the L-70 guns. But other air defenses were also used. Reports say the S-400 air defense systems were activated. It is India's most advanced air defense system, the S-400. The Modi government bought them from Russia. The deal was signed in 2018. The US threatened India with sanctions over this deal. Despite the pressure, India went ahead with the purchase. And this weapon system has proved to be a game changer. The S-400 can track targets up to 600 kilometers away. Basically, it can see all air activity deep inside Pakistan. Last night, the S-400 may have been activated. As of now, there is no official confirmation on its use. Now, let's look at the non-kinetic weapons, weapons that do not rely on impact or force. Weapons like lasers or electronic jammers. So, non-kinetic weapons also defended India's skies. This was done using drone jamming systems around the air bases in Jammu and Pathankot. Also, projectile locating radars. These were crucial in tracking all the incoming projectiles. They provided real-time information to the air defense units. And this made the interceptions successful. You can see how robust India's air defenses are. There are multiple layers to the shield. But what did Pakistan achieve in these strikes? Well, they tried to test India's readiness. Their intention was to create panic. What they got in return was silence, not the silence of fear, but the silence of interceptions. India's response to Pakistan was clear. You send drones and missiles to attack our cities, we take them out within a few minutes. The successful interceptions reinforced one fact, that India has changed. Its patience has limits, and its response is firm. We're taking you back to the developing situation at the border. Pakistani drones are being reported in the skies over northern and western India yet again for the second time in 2 days. What we saw yesterday is playing out all over again. There's a total blackout in parts of Jammu. These are the latest pictures that we have for you. The Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister has confirmed explosions in the region, but he said it was most likely artillery firing. Reports say drones have been spotted over Samba, Kathua and Nagrota in Jammu. We're getting multiple videos from these regions. You can hear air raid sirens and explosions in the background. Beyond Jammu, drones have been reported in Punjab's Firozpur and Pathankot, as well as Rajasthan's Jaisalmer. And this is exactly what happened last night as well. Just before 9 p.m., reports came in about Pakistani drones over Jammu. We learnt later that Pakistan had fired more than 400 drones across the western frontier, most of which were neutralized by India. Like yesterday, we are hearing that Indian air defenses have been activated again. This is a developing situation. We'll keep track of it for you. Multiple places in India along the western border, seeing a repeat of what we saw yesterday. Projectiles coming from the Pakistani side being neutralized by the Indian air defenses. This conflict has many battlefields: the ground, the air, and the airwaves. It is being fought not just with missiles and drones, but also in newsrooms, on prime time, in interviews streamed across the globe. This is a battle of narratives, a test of who can tell their story better and convince the world. And here too, India is winning decisively. You've got Indian diplomats. They're calm and collected, their responses are measured, every rebuttal is backed with facts. On the other side are Pakistani ministers. They think it's fun to wing it on air. And you've got to hand it to Islamabad. For a country that loves war metaphors, they're shockingly bad at the war of words. Look at some recent interviews. We'll start with the Indian ones. Indian ambassador to the US, Vinay Quatra, went on CNN, the American channel. He was our foreign secretary before this. Now he's India's ambassador to the US, so a seasoned diplomat on an important mission. Ambassador Quatra was asked if this is a religious war, a war between Indian Hindus and Pakistani Muslims. It's an absurd question to ask. But Ambassador Quatra made his point loud and clear. He said, India is not at war with Pakistan. India is at war with terrorists. The terrorists who killed 26 people in Kashmir. The anchor also called it Indian-administered Kashmir, but Ambassador Quatra did not let it slide. He reiterated India's position, the whole of Jammu and Kashmir is ours. The only problem is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir or POK. It was an interview that packed a punch. But the knockout came from across the Atlantic. From India's High Commissioner to the UK, his name is Vikram Doraiswamy. He went on Sky News and he was armed not just with talking points but also concrete proof. He went on British television and showed this picture featuring Hafiz Abdul Rauf, a sanctioned terrorist at a funeral. Standing beside him are officials of the Pakistan Army. The picture tells you everything you need to know. Pakistan is not just supporting terrorists, Pakistan is standing shoulder to shoulder with them. You may think, why are Indian diplomats going on foreign channels to make their point? Why are they facing Western grilling? Well, the logic is quite simple. This narrative war is all about perception. If you cannot tell and defend your story, someone else will twist it and write it for you. So that's what India's diplomats are doing. They are defending India's story. Now let's look at the other side of the border, which is quite chaotic, I must tell you. Pakistan has no dearth of talking heads. In fact, they had quite the army to send to foreign channels, like Defence Minister Khwaja Asif, Information Minister Ataullah Tarar, and former Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto. Instead of defending, they are scoring own goals. They don't offer facts. They come with feelings and Freudian slips. Take Defence Minister Khwaja Asif. He went on Sky News. He was asked if Pakistan backs terror groups, and this is what he had to say.
You do admit, sir, that Pakistan has had a long history of backing and supporting and training and funding these terrorist organizations.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
It was quite the moment of honesty, I must say, but Khwaja Asif was not the only one sipping the truth serum. Enter Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, the former foreign minister of Pakistan. He too popped up on Sky News trying to do damage control. Instead, he let the truth slip out. He was asked about Pakistan's terror links and he ended up saying this.
I don't think that it's a secret that Pakistan has a past as far as extremist groups are concerned. And as a result of this, we have suffered. Pakistan has suffered.
Credit where it's due. This is more honesty than we're used to hearing from Islamabad. Bilawal Bhutto is right, of course. Pakistan does have a terror-linked past. But he skipped a tiny detail. Pakistan also has a terror-linked present. And if things keep going this way, a terror-linked future too. So should Pakistan's ministers get some media training? Well, we can offer some tips. Before setting your ministers loose on BBC and CNN, run a few mock interviews. Or better still, just watch India's diplomats for some time. Take notes. And if that's too much work, here's an easier option. Stick to state TV, read from a script, blame a foreign hand and hope that the world is not watching. They say truth is the first casualty of war. Yesterday, it died 1 million deaths. If you were watching television or scrolling through social media, you would think this was an all-out war. You see, Pakistan is not just peddling fake narratives, it is also peddling fake news, and we have already been debunking them for the last few days. Tonight, we've come with some more examples, starting with AI-generated videos like this one. It talks about India shooting down 2 Pakistani jets. This video is fake. The second is an old war footage passed off as new. Like this image retweeted many times as India's attack on the Karachi port. Turns out it was a visual from Gaza. Then there's this video of a Pakistani attack on Jammu. The video was from Dhaka. So again, fake, of course. There are also fake headlines, like this one. A Chinese daily shared an old image claiming 3 Indian jets crashed. The image was fake. It was from 2019. A Pakistani handle claimed that a Sukhoi Su-30 MKI was shot down. The Indian pilot was captured. Again, this was fake news. This picture was from 2014. Here's another one. It says that ATMs in India will be closed for 2 to 3 days. Fake news. It was spread to create panic, to send people rushing to the banks. And that's the purpose of this, really. But it wasn't just social media that was the problem. Mainstream media also seemed to have taken the bait this time. And now we know that reporting during a conflict like this one is tough. The viewers want to know what's going on, and you want to put out information fast. It can be tough in the fog of war. So it's important to prioritize accuracy over speed. Unfortunately, some channels faltered and ran headlines like these. Indian Navy strikes the Karachi port, fake news. Indian Army takes over Lahore, again fake. Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir toppled in a coup. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif captured and locked in a basement. Imran Khan to be released within hours. Pakistani pilot captured after India downs an F-16 fighter jet. All of this was fake news. Yet it ran on mainstream media. The clips were forwarded on WhatsApp. They were retweeted hundreds of times. It was repeated so much that it almost seemed like reality. Why did this happen? Because the hunger to be first beat the responsibility of verifying news. It's a strange thing, really, and the paradox of the times we live in. We have more access to information than ever before, yet we are more vulnerable to being misled. And a war makes that even worse. In moments of national anxiety and crisis, people aren't just looking for news, they're looking for credibility, they're looking for clarity, something to hold on to during a crisis. And the answer to that can never be fake news. We know you want updates, but accuracy is more important than speed. At Firstpost, we are choosing to hold on to that. We are choosing to hold on to accuracy. That means we won't always be first. You may not get your breaking alert from us, but what you will get is what we owe you. And that is the truth. Verified, cross-checked and cross-checked. We rely on sources and verified ones. After all, that's what separates a journalist from a loudspeaker. But sometimes even we miss a beat, and when we do, we will tell you. Yesterday, we ran visuals from a registered news agency. This visual turned out to be fake, so we are taking responsibility. And from now on, we will cite the source of every image, every picture, every video that you see on Firstpost will have a source mentioned. That is our commitment to you. We will wait, we will verify, we will ask again. Only then will we tell you. No noise, no panic, just the facts. Because right now, that's what the country needs most. As missiles fly across the border, Pakistan has opened another front, not with weapons, but with a plea. They want more cash. Today, the IMF is holding a crucial meeting. That's the International Monetary Fund. It is Pakistan's last financial lifeline. The IMF will decide Pakistan's financial future. It will assess their current progress and take a call on giving them more money. The stakes are very high. It's a make or break moment for Pakistan's economy. So hours before the IMF meeting, Islamabad put out a not so subtle appeal on X. The post came from Pakistan's Economic Affairs Division. It openly asked for more loans. It cited the current conflict with India. It referred to the recent stock market crash, and it urged the world to help de-escalate. Now, let me be clear. This is not a fake account. This was an official government handle of Pakistan openly begging for money in the middle of a military standoff with India. Of course, the internet reacted instantly. India's very own PIB, Press Information Bureau, joined in with a sharp dig. Soon, the backlash grew, and Pakistan scrambled for cover. A clarification was issued. Pakistan claimed that this account was hacked and the post was not an official statement. but the damage was done. Now the spotlight shifts to the IMF. Will they grant Pakistan the next tranche of loans? Around $2 billion are on the table, and this is in two parts. One half is a $1 billion tranche. This is out of the $7 billion bailout package that has been promised to Pakistan. The second half is a new loan, a loan worth $1.3 billion. Pakistan is asking for more funds under the IMF's Climate Resilience Program. Climate Resilience Loan Program. They want $1.3 billion. So today's meeting can unlock upwards of $2 billion for Pakistan. This money is critical for them. Without it, they will plunge deeper into crisis. The country is already sinking under debt. Their external liabilities now exceed $130 billion. Foreign reserves are just about $15 billion, which is barely enough to pay for 3 months of imports. And there are significant payments due. This year, Pakistan has to pay its lenders $22 billion. Nearly $13 billion of that is owed to bilateral partners, and one of them is, of course, China. It is Islamabad's single largest creditor, also its biggest weapons supplier. Of course, India is watching the IMF meeting closely. New Delhi will have representation there, and they will want the IMF to block the money. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri issued a statement today. He called on the IMF to look hard at the facts. He pointed to Pakistan's long history and bailout packages. And India has a strong case here. Pakistan has received 24 IMF bailouts since 1958. That is the highest number for any country in the world ever, 24 bailouts. So India is raising some very tough questions. It wants the IMF to ask how that money has been used.
जहाँ तक IMF bailout का सवाल है, आपको ज्ञान होगा कि IMF की आज मीटिंग हो रही है. हम वहाँ पे अपना पक्ष रखेंगे और जो हमारा मत है इन चीज़ों को लेके वहाँ पे साझा करेंगे दूसरे मेंबर्स के साथ. ये बोर्ड पे निर्भर है कि वहाँ पे क्या निर्णय होता है.
In the backdrop of the Pahalgam terror attack and Pakistan's provocations since, India's message is clear. Agencies like the IMF should stop giving aid to Pakistan blindly. Clearly, that money is funding terrorist groups. India has impressed the same upon its partners. Yesterday, there was a surprise visitor in New Delhi. Saudi Arabia's junior foreign minister, his name is Abdul Al-Jubair. He met with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Jaishankar discussed the issue of cross-border terrorism with him, and today Al-Jubair is in Islamabad, presumably to share that same message, to try to get Pakistan to behave itself. As for the Americans, they aren't too keen to interfere right now. That is what Vice President J.D. Vance has said.
What we can do is try to encourage these folks to de-escalate a little bit, but we're not going to get involved in the middle of war. That's fundamentally none of our business and has nothing to do with America's ability to control it.
America is keeping its hands off this conflict. That's the message from J.D. Vance, their vice president. But behind the scenes, their diplomats have been busy. America's acting ambassador in Islamabad called on Pakistan's interior minister today. We'll have to wait for the outcome and for the IMF's decision. India says it will present its case firmly. Pakistan will try to spin the narrative. It says the IMF deal is about ensuring stability. But the thing is, stability cannot come with missiles in the sky and a begging bowl in hand. Let's once again check in on the situation at the border. Pakistani drones are being reported in the skies over northern and western India for the second straight night today. There's a total blackout in sites near the border. These are the latest images that we have. The Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister has confirmed explosions in Jammu. He said it was most likely artillery firing. Reports say drones have been spotted over Rajouri, Samba, Kathua, Nagrota and Nagrota in Jammu. We're getting multiple videos from these regions. You can hear air raid sirens and explosions in the background. Take a look at this clip from Samba. Beyond Jammu, drones have been reported in Punjab's Firozpur and Pathankot, as well as Rajasthan's Jaisalmer and Pokhran. This is exactly what happened late last night as well. We are hearing that Indian air defences are engaging the targets again. This is almost a copy-paste from last night's attack. Vantage continues after a short break.
We're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
I'm hearing the sirens. In fact, here in Jammu, I'm not allowed to go outside because of the light and some sort of restrictions that are in place. Zaka, yes, we are learning about one drone attack here in Jammu. In fact, defense sources are telling us, and we have heard multiple firing sounds as well. You rightly pointed out on line of control, we are having ceasefire violations in different sectors, not only in Jammu but in Kashmir as well. In Uri and Kupwara, we have been reporting since evening. And at this point in time, in Poonch and in Samba, we are learning about this ceasefire violation from Pakistan, where they are in fact firing the artillery. Here in Jammu, I have heard multiple sounds. I was trying to count 11 at least. I have heard, and I am learning. In fact, defense sources are telling me that it was drone once again, for a drone attack once again. We'll wait for the police to confirm it as well. But I am learning that yesterday it was the airport, and once again it is in the close vicinity, possibly the airport only. And agencies are in fact using the AD systems and AD guns to thwart these attempts. Once again, it is Pakistan trying to attack the infrastructure, and not only in Jammu. We have been learning about these sort of activities in different areas. Tejinder is reporting in fact about Pathankot and Samba as well. We have a colleague Anshul and Anvit in different areas as well. They have been reporting about blackout and sirens. But as far as Jammu is concerned, Zaka, so it is very important. It is the international border though, but it's a very part of the sort of attack that was carried out. In fact, yesterday it got started with Jammu only, and at around 8 p.m. This evening also, we heard sirens, and soon after that a blackout was there. Yes, it's a precautionary measure, Zaka, but it has been categorically mentioned by the police and the civil authorities that people cannot stay outdoor, and in fact that they need to go inside whenever they are hearing these sort of sounds, and in fact whenever there is blackout they need to go indoors.
Okay, Akash, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. So yes, ceasefire violations are happening in Samba, in Uri, in Tangdar, all across the line of control. We're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
I'm hearing the sirens. In fact, here in Jammu, I'm not allowed to go outside because of the light and some sort of restrictions that are in place. Zaka, yes, we are learning about one drone attack here in Jammu. In fact, defense sources are telling us, and we have heard multiple firing sounds as well. You rightly pointed out on line of control, we are having ceasefire.
This ongoing conflict is a reflection of India's new approach, a new and bold approach. It's very different from the past. Let's go back to 2008. Pakistani terrorists attacked the financial heart of India. I'm talking about 26/11. They targeted iconic landmarks in Mumbai. 26/11-2008. Terrorists from Pakistan killed more than 160 people. It was a deadly and daring attack. It left India grieving and angry. Back then, the world expected India to hit back, to use some sort of military action against Pakistan, but none came. New Delhi chose legal and diplomatic means. The United Nations Security Council condemned the attack. They also put some of the plotters on their sanctions list. 2008. Justice is yet to be served. Those plotters continue to roam free in Pakistan. Now cut to 2016. 4 terrorists attacked an Indian army base in Uri. They killed 19 Indian soldiers. Again, India had 2 options to choose from: diplomatic means or military means. This time, Prime Minister Modi was leading the country. He chose the second option. He ordered a surgical strike across the line of control. Now, this decision was not sudden. Prime Minister Modi gave ample chance to Pakistan. He made a surprise visit to Lahore in 2015, and while there, he attended Nawaz Sharif's granddaughter's wedding. He put his best foot forward. In 2016, he allowed a Pakistani team to visit the Pathankot air base. The goal was to jointly investigate a terror attack. So Prime Minister Modi gave multiple chances to Pakistan, but finally he ran out of patience. After the Uri attack, he set a new strategic precedent. If you attack, we will hit you back. No more free passes. That precedent was upheld in 2019 as well. After the Pulwama attack, Indian jets bombed Pakistani terror camps. Same in 2025. After Pahalgam, India struck 9 terror camps. Each attack has been more daring than the last one. At the same time, India has not abandoned the diplomatic route. We have kept up pressure on global forums. In 2019, we got the United Nations Security Council to sanction Masood Azhar. He is the chief of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. It took us more than 10 years to get him blacklisted. In 2023, we scored another victory. The United Nations Security Council blacklisted Lashkar terrorist Abdul Rahman Makki. So the diplomatic campaign is very much alive. The military campaign is about added pressure. It's about imposing a cost on such terror attacks. And the logic is simple. Pakistan must realize that every attack will be responded to. Every death will be avenged. The hope is that this will eventually deter Islamabad. There are critics to this approach. They say the surgical strike did not prevent Pulwama and Blackout did not prevent Pahalgam. So why would Operation Sindoor be any different? Well, the thing is, no policy is guaranteed to succeed. But there is a sound logic here. Eventually, these reprisals will begin to take a toll because the cost is rising every time. The surgical strike was a limited ground operation. Balakot was an airstrike, and Sindoor was an expansive anti-terror campaign. Even the headquarters of the Lashkar and the Jaish-e-Mohammed were hit this time. So like I said, the cost is rising every time. Perhaps eventually it will establish deterrence. But this policy requires boldness and a risk-taking appetite, and Prime Minister Modi has displayed both. Pakistan has always used the nuclear card to deter India. If you attack, things could go nuclear. That's been their threat. That was always the threat from Islamabad. We'll use nuclear bombs. But Prime Minister Modi called their bluff. It's very clear now that you can attack Pakistan conventionally. You do not need to fear the nuclear angle. Secondly, it's a risk to India's larger ambitions. Our goal is to become a hub of manufacturing and innovation, to become a developed country by 2047. Viksit Bharat is what we call it. To become a major world power. A war would put these goals at risk. But Prime Minister Modi is willing to take that chance. He is putting safety and sovereignty over everything else. It is a sign of bold and decisive leadership. Only time will tell whether it succeeds.
Hello,
and welcome to the continuous coverage of the border tensions between India and Pakistan as Bharat gives a befitting reply to Pakistan's misadventures and even displays its technological edge. Pakistan continues its drone strikes along the border, targeting several spots in Indian territory. Pakistani forces have unleashed drones in Jaisalmer, Rajouri, Amritsar, Firozpur, Riyasi, Kathua, Samba, Nagrota and Uri. Ceasefire violations continue along the line of control and in the international border, while India continues to raise the cost for Pakistan. That is the action being taken by the Indian state. In the recent IMF meeting, India has objected to the bailout for Pakistan, saying the funds are being used for terror operations. India has also abstained from the vote, and the IMF has taken note of the entire proceedings and the stand that India has taken on the international stage. We're getting a big piece of breaking news where top intelligence sources have told CNN News 18 that Pakistan is using long-range drones from Jammu and Kashmir all the way to Punjab. Sources say the attack was aimed at testing India's defense capabilities. India also engaged in drone strikes in different parts of Pakistan. So India continues to give a befitting reply to Pakistan's misadventures along the border. India also responded with heavy firing at the line of control as well as the international border. Pakistan's crucial posts were damaged in India's counter-strike. Today, a small quantity of ammunition was also added when it comes to the entire situation along the border. And also what we are learning is that several posts have been damaged by India's counter-strike against Pakistan, even at the LOC and the international border. This comes as Pakistan continues to launch those drone strikes along the international border and the LOC, but India also giving a befitting reply. Top intelligence sources telling CNN News 18 that India has also taken strikes in different parts of Pakistan. India countering the entire offensive coming in from Pakistan. India also engaging in drone strikes in different parts of Pakistan. India has also responded with heavy firing at the line of control as well as the international border. Pakistan's crucial posts have been damaged in the ensuing gunfight that has taken place from across the Indian side towards Pakistani posts, and several Pakistani posts have now been damaged. So India also raising the cost for Pakistan when it comes to the offensive along the border, namely the LOC and the international border. But as you can see, Pakistan not relenting, using these drone strikes in sensitive areas like Rajouri, Uri, as well as in Rajasthan and Punjab to counter India. But India also countering Pakistan with drone strikes as well as firing at the LOC as well as the international border. India is also raising the cost at the international stage with actions at the IMF, and India is also, its air defense system is also taking action by preventing the damage being caused by these drones coming in from Pakistan, making sure that there is 100% repulsion of these drones that are coming in from Pakistan. To get more details on Pakistan's strategy going forward and India's counter-offensive, I'm joined by my colleague Akash Sharma on the broadcast. Akash, give us the details.
Right, so yesterday we saw that how Pakistan launched a number of attacks towards India, starting from Jammu, to then extending towards the northern parts, where we got to know that in Ladakh also, in Leh in fact, they have targeted several military infrastructure, and then down towards Gujarat and Rajasthan, they have also tried several sort of targets. The interesting part was that many of the drones did not have explosives, which means that they just wanted to test the capabilities. They just wanted to check as to how India would react. And that's the reason why, there was an anticipation that something is going to come today. And now today also at around 8 p.m., starting from 8 p.m., we have seen that how in the areas like Rajouri, in the areas like, Jammu, Samba, and in fact, several places in Punjab and also in Rajasthan, we have seen that how, these drones were tried. And 2-3 points that are very clear out of these attempts. First one is, of course, the fact that Pakistan is somewhere showing the sort of capability where they are in fact able to attack from their home to a place that is at a distance of more than 100 kilometers, in fact 200 kilometers in some cases. Then they have in fact at the LC they are violating the ceasefire with artillery, even when they don't have enough of artillery ammunition. They have been violating ceasefire, and it is happening across the LC in the multiple sectors. In Kashmir, if you talk about Uri, Kupwara, Baramulla and all these areas, close to LC. So violation has been happening, and artillery shells, artillery is being fired. Civilians, are being targeted. Similarly, in Jammu region as well, we have seen that how in Poonch, ceasefire violation is happening, and it is not limited to LC only. We have a violation, at the international border as well, where they are firing the artillery. So another things are happening, and there is an indication that something big is going to happen from Pakistani side, given that today's drones have explosives as well. In fact, our investigation editor Manoj Gupta is bringing us these details that how the drones that are being used today have the small quantity of ammunition, in fact the explosives as well. So clearly, clear indication of provocation, and not just provocation, but an action that is out of frustration because of the fact that, in the initial days, in fact, the initial attacks, Pakistan has, in fact, seen the sort of capabilities that Indian armed forces have, and this is the reason why the same design is being used with a sort of modification, a bit of modification. In Punjab, several locations were targeted. In fact, several military infrastructure were targeted in Kashmir and in Jammu region as well.
Right, and Akash, you're currently reporting from the Jammu region. What is the situation there right now? Clearly, it seems that the blackout is still in effect. What is the kind of pulse on the ground right now in the Jammu area?
So no more sirens, but we have been asked to not to open our camera light and report on road, and that's the reason why my camera light is in fact off. I'll try to show you some visuals. It's all all silent here on the road. People are not at the road. Also because it's the night time, but in general, in routine days, you used to see a lot of chatter, a lot of people on this particular road. This is road close to the railway station, where we earlier had a lot of people on a daily basis, but now since these are not the routine times, normal days, that's the reason why we don't have people. In fact, blackout is no more there in Jammu because we have got electricity back in the park there. Rajesh Bhardwaj is showing you the visuals, but since some police personnel were there and they saw us reporting live, so they asked us to switch off our camera light for the safety, and that's why we have not in fact switched on our camera light. But yes, as far as Jammu is concerned, so in the both days, not just today but yesterday as well, we have noticed that how it is starting from here. We heard several sort of sounds. It was AD gun possibly. It was a constant sound. In fact, at one point in time, where we heard that sound, we were told that drones are being engaged and aerial threats are being engaged, and all of these aerial threats we have been given to understand were engaged. And it is not limited to Jammu area. We have some nearby areas. Nagrota is one area where we have one important military establishment. Yesterday it was attacked in the morning, in fact, and today once again drones were sent to that particular location. In Udhampur also we got to know that drones were sent in Samba, in Rajouri, and in several other areas nearby Jammu. It was tried. In Akhnur also we have been told, though I have no confirmation of Akhnur, but yes, in Akhnur also there were attempts. LC violation is happening, constantly happening, but other than that, in the hinterland as well, Pakistan is trying to attack India using drones.
Right. Thank you, Akash, for getting us the latest. That's the update coming in from Jammu. I'm also joined by Ishan Wani, who's reporting from Srinagar. Ishan, given the fact that Pakistan is unrelenting in its offensive with a second wave of drone strikes today, what is the latest from Srinagar now?
Well, for the first time, we have drone strikes and attempts to actually strike the Srinagar airport, which is also air station of the Indian Air Force, and also the air base in Avantipur, which is a full-fledged air base of the Indian Air Force. The attempt was made there to target them, to dislodge and to ensure that they inflict damage on these crucial assets of the defense personnel in Jammu and Kashmir. Look, they are very crucial for the defense forces. We don't want to give out operation details, but very essential for the forces. So that's why there was an attempt being made to take drones there and possibly target some areas, some crucial areas in the airport in Srinagar and as well as airbase in Avantipur. But what we have been given to understand by sources in the security establishment is that both of these drones and both of the threats have been neutralized. Now, apart from Srinagar and Avantipur, we have been hearing reports about drone threat being there in Baramulla. A lot of videos emerged. Our colleague Tejinder is also stationed in Baramulla. He also reported that there was a shake of their houses when the anti-drone system was launched to counter these drones and to bring them down effectively. But we have been given to understand that 6 to 8 is the number. By the sources telling us that where the drones in Srinagar, Avantipur, and Baramulla, which were brought down, it is still blackout, no lights outside, and the curtains are on. Everything for the first time is on action mode. The administration, the officials are in their offices as a precautionary measure. We are told that the highest level of alertness is being maintained to ensure that if there is any challenge that can arise through the use of these drones, that is immediately eliminated. There are reports that multiple places in Baramulla have also had drone sightings. There can be a possibility of them not being present there and then people suspecting that it's a drone. But the establishment has readied its air defense system that whenever in their radar there is any drone which flies in the important and crucial zones, that they are completely destroyed and decimated. We saw that yesterday. The government of India, the MHA, the Defense Ministry said that none of the drones was allowed to actually come down or attack any place whatsoever to inflict any damage or casualties. Whether it's Pakistan testing India's waters, whether they are trying to play tricky games, that is something that the government, the police, and the security agencies are keeping a very close, tight eye on. But on the line of control, Aishman, the ceasefire violation is continuing relentlessly. But we have been given to understand that even before the sunset today, they opened indiscriminate fire. There was massive mortar shelling that was seen and witnessed in Uri sector, in Kupwara as well. Artillery being used, and which has actually resulted in many families being uprooted. But yesterday was the most intense shelling part. Yesterday was intense shelling. People were thrown out of their houses. One lady died. It's a very sad story that she was trying to escape from the shelling. They were in a car, and then one shrapnel from the entire artillery that fell somewhere close to their vehicle came in from the top and just pierced through her neck and killed her later before she reached the hospital. So it's a sad story that people are dying on the line of control or are getting dislodged from their houses. They are being uprooted. They're being moved out. Several people have left on their own, while the government is also providing them accommodation, food, and shelter to ensure their safety. The ambulances have been kept there, but it's hard to actually lift anyone when there is massive artillery shelling taking place. But the drone threat in Srinagar, Avantipur, and across Kashmir Valley have been eliminated. First such drone attack after Jammu yesterday. Now the agencies are trying to ensure that they get a full hand on the situation that's unfolding.
Absolutely. That's the situation coming in from Srinagar. Please stay safe there, Ishan. I'm also getting a report from other parts which are also seeing these drone strikes, ladies and gentlemen. Pathankot as well as Jaisalmer. Anvid Srivastav also joining us from Jaisalmer, which has also seen a fresh round of drone strikes. Anvid, what's the latest right now in Jaisalmer?
Ayushman, we are right now in Jaisalmer at a location that is closer to the border, and we are far from the city because we are closer to the border. And the IB, the international border, lies hardly 70 to 80 kilometers from here, because the last village, Ramgarh, there the vehicular movement beyond that has been stopped. Army has taken over, and they are not allowing media and civilians beyond that point. But where we are right now, last night a lot of shelling was reportedly seen from this point as well where we're standing. But today the skies are comparatively clear, as you can see. But yes, the complete blackout, as you can see, the street lights are all off. People have been told to keep minimal vehicular movement, that too without the usage of headlights. Advisories have been issued to put thick curtains on the windows and do not switch any lights on from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. Now these precautionary measures are being taken to save civilian architecture, not only architecture but also prevent any harm to lives from the Pakistani shelling and cross-border firing that the Pakistan has been resorting to since last night. The number of shells rained were so high in this area in Jaisalmer that today not only one such bomb had to be defused by the military in Kishanghat area of Jaisalmer, but another was also discovered which had remained unattended and was reported by the local villagers. So much of shelling had taken place yesterday, and so much of drone attacks could be visible from the point where we're standing right now, that fear and uncertainty loom as villagers stay indoors. Police, however, are continuing heavy patrols in the area, and the army is keeping a tight vigil on the activities across the border.
Right, so that's the latest coming in from Jaisalmer. As you can see, Anvit over there reporting in complete darkness. There's a complete blackout in Jaisalmer as the drone strikes continue, and there's a threat of more artillery firing as well as drone strikes coming in from Pakistan. But the Indian Defence Forces on high alert. At the same time, the Indian Defence Forces as well as the air defence systems are repelling all the drone strikes that are coming in from Pakistan. But clearly, as a precautionary measure, several of these areas now witnessing a complete blackout. Also, what we're learning is that these drones have been sighted at around 26 locations ranging from Baramulla in the north to Bhuj in the south and along the international border as well as the line of control with Pakistan. Now, these include suspected armed drones posing potential threats to both civilian and military targets. So it's not just the military targets that are being targeted by the Pakistani state, it's also these civilian areas. These locations include Baramulla, Srinagar, Avantipora, Nagrota, Jammu, Firozpur, Pathankot, Lalgarh, Jatta, Jaisalmer, Barmer, Bhuj, Kuwarbat, as well as the Lakinala areas along the international border as well as the line of control. Let's get a view from Pathankot, also one of the affected areas by these drone strikes. Anshul Singh is reporting from Pathankot to get us the latest. Anshul, give us the update from Pathankot right now as the situation continues to remain grim.
Well, yes, at approximately 7:30 p.m. a complete blackout was announced out here in Pathankot, and since then, since 7:30 till at approximately 9 to 9:30 p.m. there have been at least 14 to 15 blast that explosions that I have counted myself out here in Pathankot. But at this point in time, over the last hour and a half, there has been absolute peace that has been maintained over here. Sirens went out over here at the Pathankot Air Base at approximately 8 p.m. Today as well, but there were at least 15 projectiles that were launched from the side of Pakistan. Whether these were drones, whether these were missiles, this is something that will be investigated tomorrow once the light hits. But yes, this is one of the modus operandi that is being utilized by Pakistan at this point in time. They try to take the hide behind the night, and then eventually, like this morning as well, at approximately 4:30 a.m. this morning, there were a few drones and projectiles that were yet again launched from the side of Pakistan. So at this point in time, definitely the guards are not down. Everything is checked up. Blackout has still been announced. There has been no other communication that has been made from the side of the administration. The administration has made this very clear that all the SOPs that needs to be followed during the time of a blackout, that should be followed over here, and hence that is being done at this point in time. But yes, one thing we can confirm to our viewers that at least 15 explosions were heard over here in Pathankot, but each and every attack was thwarted by our air defense systems. And today as well, the Pakistani drones and projectiles were not able to hit the ground. So for 2 consecutive days, the drones and projectiles that have been sent from the side of Pakistan have all been burst in the air itself. They haven't been able to even touch the land, let alone harming life and property out here in Pathankot. It remains to be seen how will the forces now respond to this new escalation that has come in from Pakistan, 3rd day in a row. But definitely the situation remains grim. But yes, the manner in which the armed forces are tackling these threats that are coming in from Pakistan, somewhere or the other, it is increasing the confidence of the local people over here that even if Pakistan is just 25 kilometers away from here, the armed forces are so vigilant that they will not let anything happen to any citizen of this country.
Absolutely, and also we're getting more information that Avantipora has also seen drone strikes coming in from Pakistan. Also, we're getting an update as well that, as we were saying, the drones have been sighted at around 26 locations ranging from both Baramulla in the north to Bhuj in the south, along the international border as well as the line of control with Pakistan. This is new information coming in. Now, these include suspected armed drones posing potential threats to civilian as well as military targets, ladies and gentlemen. Now, regrettably, what also we're learning is that An armed drone targeted a civilian area in Firozpur, resulting in severe injuries to members of a local family. The injured have been provided medical assistance and the area has been sanitized by the security forces. So that is more information that's coming in, where civilians are also in the crossfire when it comes to these attacks coming in from Pakistan, the drone strikes. Now this armed drone targeted a civilian area in Firozpur, resulting in severe injuries to a local family. And other areas, as we are showing you on our screens, including Baramulla, Srinagar, Vantipora, Nagrota, Jammu, Firozpur, Pathankot, Lalgarh, Jatta, Jaisalmer, Barmer, Bhuj, Kuwarbat and Lakinala have also been targeted by these drones. Akash is also with us on the broadcast when it comes to these new developments which are coming in, where civilians are also in the line of fire from Pakistan, because Pakistan is not discriminating between military and civilian targets. Akash.
Yes, and in fact, these 26 locations, you rightly pointed out, these 26 locations have seen the drone attacks in the last 2 hours, specifically starting from 8 p.m. last evening. And in fact, we saw that how even before the sunset, the ceasefire violation was started, in areas like Uri and in Kupwara, and then we saw the air sirens in different areas, including Jammu, Baramulla, and others. Starting from Baramulla in the north, you rightly pointed out, and to Bhuj. In fact, the entire western border, was active. And yes, in Firozpur, one civilian target was there, and in fact one family, in fact the members have sustained injuries. They have been getting medical assistance, but this is somewhere showing the intentions of Pakistan. These are somewhere the act that they can get involved in, and at a time when India has made it very clear that we don't want any escalation, we will not target your civilian population, we won't target your military installations. Then also Pakistan is trying some important military installations here in India. I cannot of course name because of several limitations, but these places, many of these places have got several crucial military infrastructure, Ayushman, and this is the reason why it is concerning. I know that our armed forces are very much there to thwart any sort of attempt, but then up to when we will be seeing these sort of attempts from Pakistan, because this is the third attempt. In fact, we have been seeing that how yesterday in the morning and in the evening, in fact there were attempts, and today once again there are attempts. So yesterday in the morning, of course, India carried out the retaliation, in fact retaliatory strikes in Pakistan, where their air defense systems were destroyed, their radars were destroyed, and in fact their air defense system in Lahore was destroyed. Then last evening, in fact, operation was there. We still don't know. We did not have, in fact, we were not provided with any sort of detail, because operations are still on. And as Raksha Mantri said, Operation Sindoor very much, is very much on. But then, civilians are getting impacted because of it. And now, in fact, this sort of action that government is going to take will be something that will be very crucial to watch for.
Right, thank you Akash for getting us those updates. We're getting some more updates, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to India's counter-strike. Also, what we are learning is that National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar have left from the Prime Minister's residence after the crucial meeting over the counter-strike to Pakistan. And that's the big news that's coming in, that after that crucial meeting at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, now both the National Security Advisor as well as the External Affairs Minister, those are the visuals on your screen, they have left 7 Lok Kalyan Marg after that crucial meeting over India's counter-strike to Pakistan. And joining us on the broadcast is Arun Dhanta, also to get us the details. Arun, over to you.
Well, that's right, Ayushman. Two important meetings happened today in the evening. First was, of course, with Prime Minister Modi, Rajnath Singh, and three, defense tri-services chiefs and RAW and IB chief. They all were present, along with, of course, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. That was the review meeting about the current situation and how our forces are actually retaliating to the unprovoked firing and the drones being set in by the Pakistani side. And the second meeting, which happened, that was between the NSA Ajit Doval, Prime Minister Modi, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, and also the Foreign Secretary. So these two meetings happened today. In both the meetings, one, of course, on one side there was the Tri-Services Chief was speaking about their action, and on the other hand, Foreign Secretary and External Affairs Minister briefed Prime Minister Modi about the developments that are taking place on the international level. Because in last 2 to 3 days, we have seen that Jaishankar has been very, very proactive. He's been in touch with many international communities. In fact, yesterday we saw that he met Saudi Minister of State for External Affairs and also the External Minister of the Iran. So on every front, India is monitoring the situation. On one side, if they are retaliating to the Pakistan's unprovoked attack on India, but also how to counter it on international level, how you can expose Pakistan on international level. So all these things are discussed, and also, of course, the expected attack from the India side, because right now we are seeing that it is Pakistan who's in fact sending in those swarms of drones in India. But of course, we know that our air defense system and our forces have been very much alert, and therefore they've been thwarted there before they deliver any payload or disturb any area or destruct any area in the borders of our country. So I think this has been a strategy meet which has been going on ever since Pakistan resorted to those drone attacks and the ceasefire violation along the borders.
Right. Thank you, Arun, for getting us the latest information that's coming in when it comes to the huddle of the central government. But getting some more breaking news on the international front, this from the White House, when it comes to the tensions between India and Pakistan. US President wants to see the situation de-escalate as early as possible. Marco Rubio has been actively involved and is in constant contact with leaders from both countries. He's leading efforts to help bring the conflict to an end. That is the pitch that's coming in from the White House to de-escalate tensions between India and Pakistan. Let's listen in to the White House Press Secretary.
Thanks very much, Caroline. 2 questions. First, can you give us an update on U.S. efforts to mediate or have an impact on the conflict between India and Pakistan?
Sure, I absolutely can. This is something that the Secretary of State and, of course, now our National Security Advisor as well, Marco Rubio, has been very much involved in. The President has expressed he wants to see this de-escalate as quickly as possible. He understands these are 2 countries that have been at odds with one another for decades, long before President Trump was here in the Oval Office. However, he has good relationships with the leaders of both countries, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, I spoke to him just yesterday. He has been in constant communication with the leaders of both countries trying to bring this conflict to an end.
Just one other question. Yesterday, we saw the news of the new Pope. Before Pope Leo became Pope Leo, there were some...
So that's the pitch that's coming in from the United States, saying that there has to be a de-escalation between the 2 sides. But remember, the United States has also made it very clear that India has the right to defend itself and take action against the terror infrastructure emanating from Pakistan. So that is the pitch that's coming in from the Trump administration. Let's get to our guests, ladies and gentlemen. Lieutenant General S. Hari Mohan Iyer, former Chief of Staff of the Northern Command, is with us on the broadcast, as well as NND Dubey, former DIG of the NIA, and Major General Rajan Kochar, defense expert. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen, when it comes to the situation between India and Pakistan and the escalation of tensions, as we are seeing on our screens the second wave of drone strikes coming in from Pakistan. Now, General Iyer, how do you see these scenes that are coming in from Pakistan and the escalation of tensions between the 2 sides, given the fact that even though India has highlighted its technological edge as well as its capability to strike deep into Pakistani territory, the Pakistani state is not relenting and continues to provoke the Indian state?
Good evening, Ayushman. Firstly, a word of caution. There is a difference between drone sighting and drone attack. What is happening is drone sightings. So when they say 26 drone sighting, doesn't mean 26 drones are attacking you. So I'll exercise a word of caution, because what happens is it unnecessarily creates, a little confusion and a kind of tempers flare on this. So this is one thing which I will request through you to your correspondents, that they should differentiate between the drone sightings and drone attacks. When you mean drone attack, means it's a drone which is coming with the intention of attacking, the way we did on the terrorist basis on 7th of May. So that's the first thing. Secondly, what has happened now We have had 2 days since we targeted those 9 sites. We have given him a bloody nose. And you all know that in Pakistan, it's the country owned by the army. So when you are striking him so hard, when you've given him a hard nose, to expect him to buckle down just on that when he's got such a large standing army, such a well-equipped air force and a very decently equipped navy, he controls the economy, he controls the politics. So for him to cow down just because you hit 9 sites and come to a negotiating table without doing something is asking for the moon. So that is first thing. We should be assured. You see our AD is doing a fantastic job. We are knocking down everything that is coming from his side, right? And just be assured, most of these drones have been taken out by our AD guns, which are vintage guns. We have been able to make them counter drone capable because of our Atmanirbhar capacities, and that is something we should be very proud of. These guns, by and large, should have been in museums by now, but we have made it so good that we have ensured that not a single aerial thing that the enemy is sent across has been able to achieve its targets. So that is the first thing we must assure our citizens, that the Indian Army is abreast with the situation. We are in full control of what is happening. All these drones, and another thing which I think I mentioned yesterday also. So when you see this, flares going down in the night sky, when the AD gun fires, it fires after every 5 or 6 rounds, it fires a tracer to generally tell you where the rounds are going, because you can't see the shells. And all these shells are timed to burst in the sky, because otherwise it will come and damage something on the ground. So you'll hear a lot of noise, you'll hear a lot of explosions, you will see a lot of flashes in the sky, but that does not need anybody to get worried about, because we are taking care of ensuring that the enemy is not able to achieve any of his aims. Now coming on to the third part as to how should we respond to him. We struck at 9 places, and thereafter we gave an offer that we have done our job. It was not against the enemy military installations, it was against terror sites. We had told very clearly we don't want to escalate any further. We had given him an offer to de-escalate. Obviously, in the last 2 days, he's tried to put it back onto us. The options are very much that there could be a revisit. There are another 13 sites. As you know, there were 22 sites which were briefed by the foreign secretary the other day. We have only struck 9. There are still 13 of them available to us. For all you know, there may be a case when we will revisit. Possibly, when you see a boxing match, if he doesn't get knocked down by the first punch, let's give him a second one. Possibly escalate it a little further. You may find us targeting, other than terrorist site, some other infrastructure site which forces him to come down to the negotiating table. You see, world order will put pressure on both countries to de-escalate. And as we have already given out after 7th May, that we want the situation not to escalate any further. Once that comes down to de-escalation on our counts, I'm sure it will be the end of this whole thing as far as the military aspect of engagement is concerned. I am extremely positive that the way our armed forces have stood by us, we have still not even actually, I will say we haven't put on our boots. Our formations are still not mobilized, unlike him. The day he decides to, push the envelope a little larger, then possibly he's asking for trouble. I'm sure we have multiple options to ensure that he has not just a bloody nose, he doesn't survive. He also knows that he doesn't have the money to last for more than 4 days. He also is fighting a case of far and few resources with him. So I am very sure he'll come to heels at a due course of time.
Right.
If not, then the population in Pakistan will ensure that they can't suffer anymore and they'll bring him to heels. And that is what we should do. We should be prepared for a long haul. We should be patient. We are a stronger country, both economically and militarily. We have our aims correct. We are on the right line. We are not the aggressor here. He started this whole game by launching that event in Pahalgam. So he should be sent home at a time and place of our choosing. And it is not something that he can extract out of us. We should be patient. Like I said, usko thakao, itna thakao, he is not able to stand up.
Right.
और जिस दिन वो उठेगा नहीं, the day he is so badly exhausted, I am sure he'll be more than willing to accept the terms that we laid out.
Right, but General Iyer, that gives the impression that we are now in it for the long haul when it comes to wearing down the Pakistani state. Major General Rajan Kochar, what is your analysis of the situation? Do you think that now we're in a situation where we need to wear down the Pakistanis, increase the cost for them to wage even these small skirmishes that we're seeing along the line of control and the international border? Because even an unstable Pakistan where the people don't have faith in the civilian administration and the military leadership, that's also a dangerous paradigm for India.
Yeah, thank you for getting me to the discussion. I think the present level of action from our part is the deterrence is not enough as of now, and that's why he is attempting to do this again and again. He is tending to escalate, and don't be surprised if the next action will be a bigger one. And what is he trying to do? Let us try to understand. He's trying to test and overwhelm our air defenses. He's deploying hundreds of drones, and he's trying to saturate our own systems. He's also trying to identify the gaps wherever he can and gather intelligence. See, a drone is a double-edged weapon. It is not only you are arming the drone to carry out a strike, it's also used for intelligence gathering and reconnaissance. So what we are actually allowing him to do is that once his drones get inside our own positions, our defense layouts do get exposed, and that is one danger you know it is available. Then there is a psychological pressure on the civil population. See, we are trained in the army. We can withstand these kind of attacks, but not the civil population, because every night they have a fear something will come on their head. And let me tell you, no air defense system is invincible. If we are stating that हमने 100% drones मार दिए, it's not possible. Some of the drones will get inside and will cause casualties, as we are. You brought out, I think in Firstpost it has happened.
Right.
Some people have got injured. Then what happens is now he is in the process of collecting information. He is now, the initiative is in his hands, because each time we are reacting to a situation. Because every time he carries out an attack, we get into a huddle. The Prime Minister and the Raksha Mantri, External Affairs Minister, and they say all then start meeting each other in the middle of the night and try to work out some kind of a tit for tat mechanism. So this is my personal opinion. This is the way I take it, and I sort of feel it, that our cost which we have to give it to him has to increase. The deterrence has to be felt by him, because unless how are we wearing him out? He is only launching the drones. He is not doing anything. His army, our army is also being there, and his force is also there. Both of them are equally deployed. So as much as he is wearing out, we are also wearing out.
Right.
So we need to understand this aspect, because, and I think I feel the Prime Minister is very much aware of the situation, and I'm sure some hard decisions will be taken. Today we saw the Naval Chief being called twice by the Prime Minister, and once in the morning and once in the evening. And I'm quite certain that something is on the cards, and I'm sure with our leadership of the army, They are the best people to take the call because they have the complete information of the battlefield.
Right.
They know what kind of movements are taking place on the Pakistani side. We are not aware. So we are nobody to suggest to them that what action is to be taken.
Absolutely.
They are in the, and one last point I want to make is the IMF news which has just come in. Pakistan has got the bailout package, $1.3 billion, and I think India abstained from voting. And the world has to come up now. As you see, we are ensuring we are fighting our own war. But in case we want to expose Pakistan as a state, we require support from other nations, especially the USA. And we were quite positive that something will happen and this money will not be given to Pakistan, because at this point of time and at this juncture, if he gets that money, he is going to use it against us. We keep on saying that, he can last for 4 days, 5 days. China is there to support him. So something has to be done, blockading his entire Karachi harbor and things like that. Some strong decision like that has to be taken so that the cost has to be felt to him, because unless we give him that cost, I think he's not going to come on the table.
Thank you, General Kochhar, as well as General Iyer, for giving us your perspective on this entire situation that is escalating between India and Pakistan, where India continues to give a befitting reply to the Pakistani state, which continues to provoke India when it comes to the situation at both the line of control as well as the international border. You can see those visuals on your screen. The provocation continues to come in from Pakistan, but India's air defense systems are up, ready and active and are countering each and every threat. We will continue to track all the developments coming in. For now, a quick break. More news and updates on the other side.
We're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
I'm hearing the sirens. In fact, here in Jammu, I'm not allowed to go outside because of the light and some sort of restrictions that are in place. Zaka, yes, we are learning about one drone attack here in Jammu. In fact, defense sources are telling us, and we have heard multiple firing sounds as well. You rightly pointed out on line of control, we are having ceasefire violations in different sectors, not only in Jammu but in Kashmir as well. In Uri and Kupwara, we have been reporting since evening. And at this point in time, in Poonch and in Samba, we are learning about this ceasefire violation from Pakistan, where they are in fact firing the artillery. Here in Jammu, I have heard multiple sounds. I was trying to count 11 at least. I have heard, and I am learning. In fact, defense sources are telling me that it was drone once again. It was a drone attack once again. We'll wait for the police to confirm it as well. But I am learning that yesterday it was the airport, and once again it is in the close vicinity, possibly the airport only. And agencies are in fact using the AD systems and AD guns to thwart these attempts. Once again, it is Pakistan trying to attack the infrastructure, and not only in Jammu. We have been learning about these sort of activities in different areas. Tejinder is reporting in fact about Pathankot and Samba as well. We have a colleague Anshul and Anvit in different areas as well. They have been reporting about blackout and sirens. But as far as Jammu is concerned, Zaka, so it is very important. It is the international border though, but it's a very part of the sort of attack that was carried out. In fact, yesterday it got started with Jammu only, and at around 8 p.m. This evening also we heard sirens, and soon after that a blackout was there. Yes, it's a precautionary measure, Zaka, but it has been categorically mentioned by the police and the civil authorities that people cannot stay, outdoor, and in fact that they need to go inside whenever they are hearing these sort of sounds, and in fact whenever there is blackout, they need to go indoors.
Okay, Akash, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
And amid the strikes coming in from Pakistan, we're getting a piece of breaking news where an armed drone targeted a civilian area in Firozpur, resulting in severe injuries to members of a local family. The injured have been provided medical assistance, and the area is currently being sanitized by the security forces. We have a reaction from the local police in Firozpur. Let's listen in.
ਚਲੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਰੋਨ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਜੋਰਿਟੀ ਡਰੋਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਰਮੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਨਿਊਟਰਲਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੁਝ ਆਹ ਜਿਵੇਂ 21 ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਨਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਇਆ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਟੀਮਸ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਲਾਂਗੇ ਜੇ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਹੋਊਗਾ
And I'm joined by my colleague Anshul Singh on the broadcast to get more details. Anshul, over to you.
So yes, this incident happened at approximately 8:30 p.m. this evening in Firozpur district. This entire incident happened in the village, in a village in this entire district, and it is being said that the manner in which Pakistan has yet again attacked and targeted civilians, because remember this was a village that was targeted. 3 members of the family have been badly injured. The woman of the family is actually in critical condition at this point in time, whereas the 2 others are injured. The entire house is in shambles. The vehicle that was parked outside the house, that has also been burned absolutely completely. In fact, this was a poor farming family, farming family who was surviving over there, and their cattle have also sustained injuries in this entire incident that has been done by Pakistan. Now remember, this is the 3rd such incident in as many days, where yet again Pakistan has gone ahead and targeted civilians and made sure that civilians of India who have no way to defend themselves, they are targeted in some way or the other. So definitely the manner in which this coward nation of Pakistan is actually trying to fight with India, this is absolutely shameful, and Pakistan has yet again decided to go ahead and target civilian locations in the country. This was just one drone that was not tackled by our air defense systems, and this is the kind of damage that has happened. But definitely at this point in time, what we are being told that 3 out of the 2 people are out of danger, whereas the woman of the family is still critically injured.
So that's a good piece of news, that 3 out of the 2 people who have been hit by this drone are out of danger, and the rest are receiving medical attention. Thank you, Anshul, for getting us that piece of breaking news. We will continue to track all the developments coming in. For now, quick break. More news and updates on the other side.
We're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
I'm hearing the sirens. In fact, here in Jammu, I'm not allowed to go outside because of the light and some sort of restrictions that are in place. Zaka, yes, we are learning about one drone attack here in Jammu. In fact, defense sources are telling us, and we have heard multiple firing sounds as well. You rightly pointed out on line of control, we are having ceasefire violations in different sectors, not only in Jammu but in Kashmir as well. In Uri and Kupwara, we have been reporting since evening. And at this point in time, in Poonch and in Samba, we are learning about this ceasefire violation from Pakistan, where they are in fact firing the artillery. Here in Jammu, I have heard multiple sounds. I was trying to count 11 at least. I have heard, and I am learning. In fact, defense sources are telling me that it was, drone once again. It was a drone attack once again. We'll wait for the police to confirm it as well. But I am learning that yesterday it was the airport, and once again it is in the close vicinity, possibly the airport only. And agencies are in fact using the AD systems and AD guns to thwart these attempts. Once again, it is Pakistan trying to attack the infrastructure, and not only in Jammu. We have been learning about these sort of activities in different areas. Tejinder is reporting in fact about Pathankot and Samba as well. We have a colleague Anshul and Anvit in different areas as well. They have been reporting about blackout and sirens. But as far as Jammu is concerned, Zaka, so it is very important. It is the international border though, but it's a very part of the sort of attack that was carried out. In fact, yesterday it got started with Jammu only, and at around 8 p.m. This evening also, we heard sirens, and soon after that a blackout was there. Yes, it's a precautionary measure, Zaka, but it has been categorically mentioned by the police and the civil authorities that people cannot stay outdoor, and in fact they need to go inside whenever they are hearing these sort of sounds, and in fact whenever
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As tensions continue to escalate between India and Pakistan, let's get a view from a lawmaker from a country that has faced off against terror since its very inception. I'm joined by Moshe Turpaz, a member of parliament from Israel. Thank you, Mr. Turpaz, for joining us on CNN News 18 and giving us your perspective. Israel has been a crucial ally and on the front lines in the war on terror. How do you see these developments of the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan as we dismantle the terror infrastructure inside Pakistan?
So Israel has been fighting for its life for 77 years, since it was founded in 1948. And we, the Jewish people, actually have a 3,000 history of fighting for our lives in the land of Israel, and also when we were around the world, scattered and without a country of our own. So I can relate to this situation, and I must say, I think the defense against attacks is something that every country, as small as Israel or big as India, has to work on. I think it's very concerning because as we see it, we in Israel didn't know or are not aware of the fighting between Pakistan and India. And I think every time there is a terror against a country, this is something that we relate to. We understand how you feel when you're attacked like that.
Right. Mr. Turpaz, if we look at India and Israel, terror is a major threat to democracies and liberal values, something that both nations represent. Is it time for this to become a global stand of powerful and effective democracies to label terror as a threat to humanity?
I think so, yeah. I think it's very important that we democracies stand together and help each other at these hard times. And I must say that the fact that civilians are murdered by aggressors from another country is something that, of course, has to be in concern of all of the world. I mean, I would expect the United Nations to stand with the country, although we in Israel are very much disappointed by the side that the United Nations is taking. And I hope India manages to both redefend its people and show the world how a democracy knows to defend itself, because if it doesn't defend itself, I'm afraid enough that no one else will do it for her.
Mr. Turpaz, Israel has been tackling terror since its very inception, something I mentioned at the top. The recent being the October 7 massacre, and India also bears the scars of insurgency. But tackling the threat even now gets mired in politics, both domestically and internationally. What lessons can we take from Israel and how it's dealt with the politics surrounding its action against terror?
So I think for first and foremost, terror understands only power. Terrorists should not be negotiated with and should understand that when they are aggressors, when they attacked, they will meet a very strong force. This is something we have learned on our lives for many years. And I remember, as you remember, on the 7th of October, almost 1,200 Israelis were murdered by the terrorists of Hamas. So I think India too should show terror that it doesn't bow and it doesn't negotiate. It stands firm against terror. Then the world has to understand that India won't stand aside and won't be just, aggressed and not give a response. And that's something that towards your allies and even stronger to those are not allies, but let's say are sitting on the fence, they have to hear from India that India won't be can't allow itself to be aggressed by terror and not to respond. And then I think, as you hinted, I think us democracies, we have to stand together. So we call, and I think India should call other democracies around the world to stand with her and to help her and to give a firm stand against aggressions that come from places of terror.
Right. Mr. Turpaz, I'm going to press you on that point. The fight against terror, while essential for the existence of a nation state, gets targeted over charges of human rights abuses multiple times. Even India has been blamed for targeting civilian areas, while evidence has been shown that terror launch pads have been eliminated. How do we navigate this?
Well, frankly enough, I think we're not, I don't feel being a good example because Israel is very frustrated about its situation again, how we are aggressed not only from terrorists, but also from organizations of human rights that stand always with the terrorists instead of the civilians that were attacked. And this is something that I can't really give you good advice, but say that Israel says to those organizations, if you don't stand with me, if you don't emphasize, if you don't understand what happened to me, I won't be on your side when you attack me. I mean, you can't come to me and say, stop every aggressions when you didn't stand with me on the time I was attacked. And this is something I think same stand that India should take. And again, Israel is committed to human rights and to the international law. But when you're attacked by a terrorist, you can't just say, okay, he did his stand and now I seek peace. You first have to give a very strong and very aggressive backlash, so the terrorists will understand that it doesn't do good to start terror against a country, against a democratic country.
Right, but talking about Pakistan and even the nations that back terror in your own neighborhood, Mr. Turpaz, has there been a failure of multilateral organizations in recognizing the threat of terror? Are they guilty of, let's say, whitewashing the crimes of terrorists?
Yes, we do that, and again, not successfully enough. We feel that a lot of these organizations, some sponsored by the United Nations, and a lot of them are located in the Western world, in countries we feel should be our allies, democracies, free democracies, that instead of standing with us against terror, they take the side of the aggressor, of the terrorists, and that's something very frustrating for Israel. And I think India also should demand these organizations to stand with Israel and with India and to understand our side, because it's not, I mean, on the 7th of October, and same goes for India, we didn't start anything. People were living in their homes, in the villages, and suddenly attacked, killed, slaughtered, raped. And this is something that can't be a double-sided, because there are no two sides to terror. It's only a terror against democracy. And that's a very firm stand Israel has, and I think India should also have.
Right, and Mr. Turpaz, my final question: with India and Israel also achieving diplomatic success in gaining support for actions against terrorists and terror sponsors, do you sense a shift in the narrative surrounding this threat to humanity? With the fingerprints of terror all over the world, have we achieved a shift in the global outlook?
So I think it's a complex time. These are very complex times for democracies and for liberal values. And yet I'll tell you one thing. I used to be a fighter myself, and I served many years in the reserves of our army in Israel. And I always said we fight terrorists by force, but we don't turn ourselves to be terrorists. So we are doing the best to fight for democracy, for liberal values, for humanity, against brutal terror without turning to be them. And that's something very vital for us liberals, liberal democracies to understand. We want to stay with our liberal values, even if we fight brutal people that are not like that. And that's, I think, something essential for a message to the world.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Turbas, for sharing your perspective, as well as the fact that how India and Israel are in the same boat when it comes to the fight against terror. We're going to take a quick break now. More news and updates on the other side.
We're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
I'm hearing the sirens. In fact, here in Jammu, I'm not allowed to go outside because of the light and some sort of restrictions that are in place. Zaka, yes, we are learning about one drone attack here in Jammu. In fact, defense sources are telling us, and we have heard multiple firing sounds as well. You rightly pointed out on line of control, we are having ceasefire violations in different sectors, not only in Jammu but in Kashmir as well. In Uri and Kupwara, we have been reporting since evening. And at this point in time, in Poonch and in Samba, we are learning about this ceasefire violation from Pakistan, where they are in fact firing the artillery. Here in Jammu, I have heard multiple sounds. I was trying to count 11 at least. I have heard, and I am learning. In fact, defense sources are telling me that it was drone once again, for a drone attack once again. We'll wait for the police to confirm it as well. But I am learning that yesterday it was the airport, and once again it is in the close vicinity, possibly the airport only. And agencies are in fact using the AD systems and AD guns to thwart these attempts. Once again, it is Pakistan trying to attack the infrastructure, and not only in Jammu. We have been learning about these sort of activities in different areas. Tejinder is reporting in fact about Pathankot and Samba as well. We have a colleague Anshul and Anvit in different areas as well. They have been reporting about blackout and sirens. But as far as Jammu is concerned, Zaka, so it is very important. It is the international border though, but it's a very part of the sort of attack that was carried out in
We're just getting some breaking news before we close out the show. There's been a massive blackout followed with siren sounds that have been activated in Udhampur, a complete blackout in Udhampur. Also, multiple ceasefire violations happening across different sectors on either side of the line of control. So not yet quite the repeat of what we saw yesterday, but still heavy artillery firing happening on across the LOC. Akash has more details on this. Akash, so is it restricted to CFV violations and artillery shells right now? Are we seeing any kind of drone activity yet? Is there any possibility of a repeat of what happened yesterday, or it's following a familiar pattern?
I'm hearing the sirens. In fact, here in Jammu, I'm not allowed to go outside because of the light and some sort of restrictions that are in place. Zaka, yes, we are learning about one drone attack here in Jammu. In fact, defense sources are telling us, and we have heard multiple firing sounds as well. You rightly pointed out on line of control, we are having ceasefire violations in different sectors, not only in Jammu but in Kashmir as well. In Uri and Kupwara, we have been reporting since evening. And at this point in time, in Poonch and in Samba, we are learning about this ceasefire violation from Pakistan, where they are in fact firing the artillery. Here in Jammu, I have heard multiple sounds. I was trying to count 11 at least. I have heard, and I am learning. In fact, defense sources are telling me that it was drone once again, for a drone attack once again. We'll wait for the police to confirm it as well. But I am learning that yesterday it was the airport, and once again it is in the close vicinity, possibly the airport only. And agencies are in fact using the AD systems and AD guns to thwart these attempts. Once again, it is Pakistan trying to attack the infrastructure, and not only in Jammu. We have been learning about these sort of activities in different areas. Tejinder is reporting in fact about Pathankot and Samba as well. We have a colleague Anshul and Anvit in different areas as well. They have been reporting about blackout and sirens. But as far as Jammu is concerned, Zaka, so it is very important. It is the international border though, but it's a very part of the sort of attack that was carried out. In fact, yesterday it got started with Jammu only, and at around 8 p.m. This evening also, we heard sirens, and soon after that.
A very warm welcome to our live and rolling coverage of the border tensions between India and Pakistan, as India gives a befitting reply to Pakistan's misadventures and even displays its technological edge. Pakistan continues its drone strikes along the border, targeting several spots in Indian territory. Pakistani forces have unleashed drones in Jaisalmer, Rajouri, Amritsar, Firozpur, Riyasi, Katwa, Samba, Nagrota and even Uri. Ceasefire violations are continuing along the line of control and even the international border, while they are also raising the cost for Pakistan as India continues to retaliate. In the recent IMF meeting, India has also objected to the bailout for Pakistan, saying the funds are being used for terror operations. India has abstained from the vote and the IMF has taken note. That's a big breaking input we are now bringing to you as far as putting or exerting that pressure on behalf of the IMF is concerned. Let's in fact bring you those breaking inputs. Top government sources are telling CNN News 18 that as far as IMF clearing a $1 billion bailout for Pakistan, India has abstained from the recent International Monetary Fund vote. This was with regards to the loan that was being doled out to Pakistan, not because it lacked opposition, but because the fund does not allow member countries to vote no. Otherwise, remember, India was all set to vote and cast a negative vote, but this time around, India has abstained. By choosing to abstain, here's the message. India has sent a strong message of disagreement. It has raised concerns over Pakistan receiving repeated financial support 28 times in the past out of 35 years, including 4 programs in just the last 5, without any meaningful reforms coming from these global economic institutions, primarily the IMF. India has also criticized the Pakistani military's deep role in economic matters and warned that the money could be misused to support cross-border terrorism, posing serious risks to global credibility and values. On that big breaking input, I am joined in by Siddhant Mishra, who will break down that big message that India has sent out while abstaining from that very crucial vote. Siddhant, first of all, many would want to know, why hasn't India cast a no instead of abstaining?
This is where India demands reforms at the international institutions. In fact, talking about IMF, if you allow me, then I would like to draw a larger context to this particular development. So there is no vote policy at IMF. Perhaps a country with more economic might has more say, and in fact, decisions are largely taken on the basis of consensus. So India does not, India cannot, or any of the members cannot exercise no to the bailout, and this is a reason that India decided to abstain. Perhaps the IMF has also of India's abstention. And it is kind of a message which India is sending out to the world that India has provided evidence, material, time and again. India has raised this issue that a country which is surviving on IMF bailouts perhaps is spending equal amount of money for its defense budget. Says about the priority of that country, etc., etc. And today again this happened. India, in fact, this issue was raised. India's abstention was also taken note by the IMF. But, as I said before, that again, this is where India demands reform at the international institutions. Perhaps a terrorist state which is directly involved in killing 26 innocent people. Last month on 22nd of April, perhaps is again getting loans from IMF. In fact, because the bigger countries with the bigger economic might have supported this bailout again.
That's very important, Siddha. I'm going to request you to continue staying with me. In fact, I'm joined in by Professor Brahma Chalani at the moment for more perspective on this. Professor Chalani, thank you for joining in. This is a big development, as Siddhant was highlighting and sharing the reasons why this is an abstention and not a no. Also, break down for us, how do you weigh in on the statement, which is a very sharp and pointed one that's come out from India?
First, this IMF bailout approval has followed a staff agreement with Pakistan. So the right time to lobby with IMF was when IMF staff were negotiating with Pakistan. At that time, we did not raise a voice. What happened today was a pro forma approval. Once a staff agreement has been reached with the country, the IMF board normally, unless there is something extraordinary that comes to the notice of the board of the IMF, the board normally approves the staff agreement. So the lobbying should have been done much earlier. At this stage, it was very difficult for India, even with US support, for example, to block the staff agreement with Pakistan. The US administration, the present one, is quite India friendly. They know that Pakistan is deeply involved in terrorism. The right thing to do would have been to lobby in January, in January or February, to prevent such a staff agreement from being reached. But actually it goes back to the Biden era. When Joe Biden was the president, he began this bailout process for Pakistan. There was a big bailout that he helped secure for Pakistan, and then soon thereafter he announced a $450 million deal to modernize and upgrade Pakistan's F-16 fleet against India. Look at the irony of it. On one hand, the US under Biden pressed IMF to bail out Pakistan because it was bankrupt or on the verge of defaulting, and then they signed a $450 million deal to modernize Pakistan's F-16 fleet without securing any commitment on counterterrorism. And even at that time, the Indian government did not raise its voice. So, we have a record of only raising a voice when there is a crisis that is facing India. So today, because of this military conflict, we spoke up, but it was too late.
Thank you for making that very critical point, Professor Chalani. And I want to, also ask you about the entire statement that has come in. Do you think that that statement is hard-hitting? Even though it is hard-hitting, as you said, that we seem to have already missed the bus at a time when there's a lot of chatter about how we can exert pressure on Pakistan through these monetary institutions, whether it is the IMF or even make efforts to bring Pakistan back on the FATF grey list. How is this move in your point of view?
I think India needs to mount a sustained international campaign to spotlight Pakistan's nexus with terror groups. This tendency in India to speak up when there is an act of Pakistani-sponsored terrorism, or their tensions along the border or the LOC, that's not the right way. You have to do it on a sustained basis. You have to then press each institution. For example, the FATF allowed Pakistan to exit the grey list. At that time, India could have built a coalition. Of course, the Biden administration, along with China, helped Pakistan to exit the FATF grey list. But you have to start building a coalition months ahead. months ahead. And you can't do it just when FATF is meeting. Similarly, in the case of IMF, you can issue any statements that you wish to make, but to pressure IMF, you have to build a coalition. You have to build a coalition because India is only one important country in the IMF. It's not. It doesn't have a veto power in the IMF.
Okay.
But certainly can help build a coalition.
You know, that's another very important point that you've made, Professor Chelani, and that's the point that I would like to take forward with Lieutenant General Iyer, who's also on the broadcast with us. He's the ex-chief of the staff at Northern Command, and I'm also joined in by Captain M.J. Vinod, who's a defense expert. Many thanks to you, gentlemen, for joining in. But if I could bring in Lieutenant General Iyer, sir, that's an important point that Professor made, and that's why if you go by the consensus, as they say, that unlike the UN over here, as far as the IMF is concerned, the vote goes by the economic power that each country wields, which means that the United States has a significant sizable vote in the IMF. What is one to make at a time when the United States is maintaining consistent engagement with New Delhi? Should we expect or shelve any hopes from the US to play a critical role over here?
Firstly, I will take it, Professor Chelani took it back to January. I'll take it back to August, September of last year.
Okay.
It was around that time when, they got out of the FATF grey. They were one of the major contributors of ammunition to the Ukraine requirements, which was something which Biden administration was pushing. So they were like Biden's gang at that stage of time. And by the time the elections happened in the US and the new administration came in, and it was too late because this IMF bailout had already passed that staff test. Thereafter also till the month of April, there was no other significant reason for us to start pushing for putting them on a grey list, as well as, getting this bailout out. So to some extent, we have been trying for the last 2 weeks, but 2 weeks is not an adequate amount of time. And let us have trust in the current American administration. They are well abreast with the kind of activity that is happening in Pakistan. I am personally very sure that next time when it comes up for the FATF relisting, Pakistan will find itself into trouble. My only piece of concern is 2 weeks down the line, though we have accused Pakistan of this Pahalgam incident, we have to back it up with real concrete evidence.
Yes.
That is somewhere we need to work much harder. We have to connect the links between what happened in Pahalgam to the Pakistani administration, and by the time they come up for the next set of loans, it should be very clear that Pakistan is a country which is fostering terrorism once again, and they deserve to be treated in the manner they were treated last year. And the third thing I would say is $1 billion in the current scheme of things, we should not get too much worried about. I'm sure it is just maybe another 6-7 days of war stamina if you equate it towards completely being employed towards this war waging efforts. And should this conflict go any further north and we find ourselves into a limited or a long drawn engagement with Pakistan, this $1 billion is not going to last. So let us not get worried about it. Let's stay focused on the current situation. I still agree, and I keep saying this every time whenever I get an opportunity. The I part of the time syndrome, we have not doing so well. We have not been able to communicate our intentions correctly. Whereas we have done very well on the diplomatic side, we have done exceedingly well on the military side, we have done fairly well on the economic side. Because the communication aspects are not good enough, we are not able to get the kind of results that we should have got by now.
No, I agree over there. I agree over there. But where I do disagree is that $1 billion funding, as you're saying, may not result or yield too much of war stamina. But the fact is, it's not just this $1 billion bailout that we are looking at, or an additional funding, which is what they are calling it, because there's been a consistent sort of bailout pattern that's been coming out of IMF, and that goes all the way back to 1958. And that's why I want to bring in Captain Vinod on that note. Sir, there's so much chatter about how the global consensus is standing with India in solidarity. And so when you talk about that global consensus, will that yield any results, especially in a body like IMF, which is governed by consensus?
And listen, I mean, without, sounding very different from my position, for the sake of viewers, let me explain this particular thing to you. See, professional, I don't want to use that word, but for want of a better word, I'm using this word. A professional beggar knows exactly how to dress up before he goes begging. So, in FATF, when you go to take the money from IMF and not to get into FATF grey list, Pakistan has done a large amount of work. Before you go and submit your application, Pakistan knows exactly whom to go and meet, what to say, how to say, Germany, US, before it goes to IMF. To stay out of grey list, he knows Pakistan doesn't need to go knocking on the doors of US. It needs to go knocking on the doors of Australia. Why? Because in the FATF, we have something called an APG, Asia Pacific Group. In the Asia Pacific Group, the permanent chair is Australia, and you have a rotating co-chair. And the Philippines, and last year when they got out of it, it was Malaysia, and they had a tacit understanding that when you have a bailout, you will return what is owed to Malaysia, which they didn't return. And if you remember, that big thing happened when PIA Airlines was captured by Malaysia. Because they promised that paisa will be given, paisa diya nahi, aur yahan inko ullu bana ke chale gaye. So this kind of things, a professional person who knows how to ask for arms knows very well. I was not surprised that they will get this money because they have done their homework very, very well. For the next bailout, they have already started their work. And for the next to next bailout, they have already must be doing their paperwork. So they're extremely professional about it. And like Professor Brahma Chalani said, you have to beat them in their game. You cannot be, beating them in their game 1 day to go, 2 days to go. Nothing is going to happen. By calling somebody 1 day before the money is going to be allotted and hoping like hell that the money will not be allotted when professionally he has addressed and plugged all the holes a month ago, impossible to do. But my limited point is, in the last 3-4 days, the amount they have spent is much more than the amount that they may get. And it is not that FSTF sanction, aaj hua hai, you will get money today. No, it takes 1 month, 2 months to come into your account, and when you start spending. So that itself is something which is not going to aid in this particular operation.
No, I agree with you that they do their homework and they do it bloody well. But Professor Chalani, I think the example that's been quoted of FATF is living testimony, because remember, they convicted a Sajid Mir or even a Hafiz Saeed only till the time they wanted to get off the grey list of the FATF. Once they did, they were back to their proxy games of terrorism. And that's why I want to bring you in on that point, that why haven't these global monetary institutions like the IMF or the World Bank been able to do much when it comes to addressing terrorism? I can't help but ask that, are they not equally responsible for what we are seeing happen in Kashmir?
The thing is that as long as Pakistan does not export terrorism to the West is actually not concerned about Pakistan exporting terrorism to India, because then it becomes a regional issue for them. And in an old India-Pakistan problem, where the two have been at loggerheads for decades now. But they all know that over the years, the footprints of many terrorist attacks in the West were traced to Pakistan. The US found Osama bin Laden living next to the Pakistan Military Academy, and other top terrorist leaders that the US wanted, like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or Abu Zubaydah, they were found living in Pakistan's heartland. But then under previous US administrations, the Pakistani government, especially the ISI and the army chief, promised to Washington that they have started cleaning up their act, that they will never repeat what happened previously. They pledged that they will not do anything to undermine US or Western security. So with those assurances and pledges, the US under some administrations, for example under Biden, resumed cozy ties with Pakistan, and we saw how Biden, for example, really helped Pakistan secure the first IMF bailout, then managed to get Pakistan off the FATF grey list, helped modernize Pakistan's F-16 fleet, while we didn't really press our case at that time. We did not. We were being too nice. We thought that if we were to exert pressure on the Biden administration, this could strain U.S.-India relations. No, we should have actually said that what Pakistan is doing is a threat to global security, and that India's efforts to pressure Pakistan to clean up its act is actually good for the world. It's not just an India-Pakistan issue. It's actually about international security. The IMF bailout, and this is there was a big bailout that was initially supported by Biden administration, and now we are now the second bailout.
Yes.
But the IMF bailout is actually great leverage for the US, because as you rightly point out that the US has a virtual veto power in the IMF, and Pakistan needs the IMF bailout not just because of the amount of money, because the IMF bailout allows Pakistan then to secure loans from elsewhere. For example, this latest release of $1 billion, this immediate release, $1 billion are being released to Pakistan
and
now.
we all know where it's going to go.
Yes, but more importantly, because of this $1 billion deal, Pakistan now will be able to secure additional billions of dollars from Saudi Arabia and China. They were waiting, China and Saudi Arabia were waiting for this IMF agreement. And now $1.2 billion swap deal with China will go forward, and there will be another major package from Saudi Arabia.
All right, I think you've made another very critical point, Lieutenant General Iyer. How do you weigh in on that? That actually does sound alarm bells at the moment, because as we've been talking about, India has also stated it in the IMF that the Pakistani army, the military, has a lopsided sort of sway over the economy in Pakistan and how the funding is going to be utilized. So that indeed is a cause of concern now, even if it is just going to be slightly over $1 billion.
I can't agree more with Professor Chalani. It's covered almost all the facets of this bailout. My only point here is whether this bailout came or not. The funds flow from both China and Saudi Arabia, if not through the front door, from the back door, would have continued. But this does give them legitimacy to now push through loans. These are ultimately loans, like Pakistan. Somebody said Pakistan budget is, every budget tells us what is to be repaid and where the loans are going to come to repay the next year's, next year's budget. So it is a kind of a continuation they are living in. They are living in dangerous situation. No country would like to, have so much of external debt as Pakistan is. Their economy is in shatters. A war of maybe even 15 days is going to make their life miserable. They just cannot afford it. And I am very sure this 1 billion, like Group Captain Augustine said, it is not going to be of much use. A couple of jets going down and this $1 billion worth will, get covered over there. Possibly in the last 4 days, they have taken losses more than $1 billion as it is. But that having said, unfortunately, we are making Pakistan India-centric. And that is something we need to tell the world that the problem is not just going to be in India.
Okay.
Tomorrow, this epicenter of terror is going to bite everybody. Somebody said keep snakes in your backyard and they're going to come and bite you. This point has to be rubbed into the Americans. 9/11 happened because there were people who were, raised by the Americans in the 80s. They came back and bit them in the late 90s. The same thing can happen through Pakistan in some stage of time. This has to be told to the Western world, and that's why again I said we have to be much more active in the info domain. We have to be ballistic in the info domain. Our people should be able to communicate the points of view, our troubles, and also tell the world what is going to hit them later. We can survive, but will this be harmful to the world has to be told. And the last point I would like to add here is possibly in the later half of last year and early part of this year, we were too focused on China. Our entire interest was trying to find a way to de-escalate with China because it was running into the third or fourth year. We were still worried that this is something which, and possibly we neglected Pakistan as possibly something which is not of importance to us.
Okay.
And I guess because I remember I've been in service and in an operational command, and we were literally only focused towards the north, and we're not looking in the west at all.
Okay,
I guess,
Captain Vinod, I want to bring you in. Lieutenant General Iyer and Professor Chalani both have highlighted how India's homework should have begun much earlier, and perhaps we had distractions at the LAC as well, which perhaps kept us more focused on China front. But now that the Biden administration is gone, you have an administration which is more serious about tackling terrorism, something that we can stand by with the arrest or the extradition of Tahawoor Rana. What, in your view, could sort of perhaps expedite the US support when it comes to, tackling or exerting greater pressure via institutions like the IMF?
Great question. In fact, just tell the viewers, their foreign office, the Section Affairs office equivalent of ours, has a separate division which is looking at only IMF loan bailouts and the paperwork and everything. There are a whole lot of people working in that particular department who are only looking at this. Now, let me draw a simile because I'm being a military man. You say you stay across Amritsar, they deploy one division or two divisions of force. Will you keep quiet? You will also deploy one or two divisions of force, isn't it? Similarly, in our External Affairs Ministry, we should, maybe they will learn a lesson. We should have a separate division continuously working to get these buggers into grey or blacklist, all the time. Career, officers should be working permanently to get these guys, give the guys what they deserve, which is blacklist. Else, it is going to bite us badly. And like Sir said, a couple of years went by when we lost focus on Pakistan, which is we are paying dearly for it. And I'm mincing no words. Even today, I think we are not giving it back to them as much as they deserve it. We can and we should, is my feeling, but then there are better brains taking better calls, so I leave it to their judgment. Otherwise, what we are seeing on the screen, we should not be seeing on the second or third day.
I agree. Why were we waiting for a 22nd of April for the situation to have arrived to this point? But Professor Chalani, take a moment to weigh in on the reliance that Pakistan has had on the IMF, which goes, I will again say, it's gone over for decades. 1958, I have the entire list of all the bailout fundings that have gone. And it all began in 1958, 8th of December to be precise. And I can't help but say that, if it is about snakes in the backyards, when will they stop, in fact, harboring these snakes in the backyard? You expect better from the Trump administration.
Two things stand out. This IMF bailouts for Pakistan began during the Cold War, when Pakistan was a surrogate of Western powers. So it was easy for Pakistan then to secure IMF bailouts. And once you get one bailout, and you don't do your reforms, you become more and more dependent on IMF. It's getting IMF money is actually quite slippery for many countries because IMF imposes conditionalities that are pretty tough. And once you get into the IMF bailout trap, you continue to you continue to need more and more bailouts. And this has been Pakistan's story. And the second is that over the decades now, since the first coup in Pakistan in the late 1950s, which actually coincided with the first IMF bailout, Pakistan has been ruled formally or informally by the military continuously now. And the military dominates not only the society, it dominates the politics, it dominates the economy. There are very few countries in the world where the military not only calls the shots in politics, but even the shots in the economy. There are very few examples of this kind in the world. So Pakistan is a very unique case. It's an abnormal state where the military and the intelligence agencies are not even accountable to the government in office. For example, today, the way the military operates, Shahbaz Sharif is only the surrogate of General Munir. So this is a very abnormal state, and that's the reason why, to answer your question, this dependence on bailouts has never left Pakistan.
Absolutely. And Lieutenant General Iyer, we are looking at a year which is very critical to some partnerships that India has, and we will be playing host to the Quad Summit. And when you talk about it in such a year, is this partnership with, say, Japan, Australia and the United States of America only limited to the Indo-Pacific?
Unfortunately, the Quad is only limited to the Indo-Pacific and it is China-centric. I am making no bones about it. That having said, I am looking at a brighter year ahead for three, four reasons. Firstly, the Russo-Ukrainian conflict is almost as good as gone. I guess it's just a period of time when the Americans, because the Trump administration is not going to be as actively involved with the Ukrainians as the Biden administration was. So I see that part of the world order changing in the coming part of this year. So Pakistan's value in supporting Ukraine and being part of the American setup will go down in due course of time. The second thing which Pakistan has done over the last 1 month, and they have been somewhat been able to play it down below the radar. They have been trying to reignite the Middle East by pulling out the Palestinian clause once again. Even I saw even during the PSL games, they had these save Palestine kind of things coming up, or crush Israel kind of things being taken up. I guess we did not catch that. They had wonderful opportunity to play it up, but we did not. There is still an opportunity because Pakistan still relies on a lot of support from the Middle East. It feels that since it makes a cause for the Palestinians, the Middle East, especially the Saudi Arab and the Emirates, will come to its support as far as finance is concerned. Unfortunately, the last few months have seen the Saudis haven't played ball with them in exact manner.
I was about to come to that. Yes, go
Professor
on.
Chalani mentioned that possibly after this bailout, there could be a difference. Well, I want to see it to believe. But the way the Saudis have treated the Pakis in the last 6 to 8 months is actually, I'll go back to Group Captain Vinod's analogy, it's just like a beggar. So that having said, I do look at a better year ahead. Trump is somebody who's not going to get into bailouts of this nature. He's a businessman. We are going to have a very good trade deal with the Americans very soon, so we'll become valuable to the Americans. We will be able to, I hope, play this game of Pakistan being the epicenter of terror with this current, we have him. We are actually holding him by the neck. It's a question of how fast and how quickly we are able to squeeze him out and expose him to the world order. And this $1 or $2 billion is something which is not very alarming to me. Yes, it was a signal. Had this $2 billion not happened today, this complete CNP, as far as the Comprehensive National Power, which we have applied for the last 2 weeks or so, would have seen its complete domain being fully exercised. That notwithstanding, I'm sure when the Indus water doesn't come in time, his crops are going to suffer. He's going to face a lot of problems. Otherwise, his stock exchange has crashed. So he's into a lot of trouble as it is. I'm sure he's going to face massive floods in this monsoons, because he'll not be able to regulate water, because we are not going to give him any data of the kind of water we are going to release. So his standing crops are going to go down. He's going to face a lot of trouble. I'm seeing bad things happening to Pakistan in the next 5 to 6 months.
No, I agree with you, Lieutenant General Iyer, but today is also a wake-up call for India, and that's why Group Captain Vinod, I think when you're talking about global support, glad that Lieutenant General Iyer talked about Saudi Arabia. I want to bring you in on the kind of good offices we share with OIC nations. In fact, just a day ago, we had the foreign ministers from Saudi Arabia and Iran very much in New Delhi. So when you talk about our own consistent engagement with OIC nations through our own economic partnerships, whether it is with Qatar, Iran or Saudi Arabia, even UAE, can we not expect them to also come to our aid and rescue when it comes to exerting pressure via these institutions?
Absolutely. In fact, if you look at a decade ago or maybe more, YC willy-nilly was, most of the nations willy-nilly was against India. Today it is not so. In fact, most of them have given awards and such.
In fact, Prime Minister was in Jeddah. He was in Jeddah on 22nd, which happens to be the headquarters of OIC.
Oh, yeah. So the world is realizing the strength of A, our leader, B, as a country, us, and C, they are able to see that every time the Sharif comes, he's only coming, I feel sad for him, he's only coming with a begging bowl, and there is not much that he's contributing towards OIC as such, except probably, getting an epithet of being a terror factory. And I'm sitting in DC, speaking to many such people. The moment you say Pakistan, the synonym is terror factory, and everyone understands that, because post 9/11 things have changed. The focus is totally different, and like Professor said, now post Russia's pullout and post the end of Charlie Wilson's war, the use of Pakistan to West, especially to US, is not much, and especially after they pulled out of Afghanistan, it is actually zilch zero. But yesterday, when Vance said it is the war between them and we have nothing to do, I knew then that the bailout is coming. That I knew then that Vance has not stopped it. Probably he or his people have given the go-ahead for the money. And like General Iyer said, it is a signal, it's not the money. Had we succeeded in blocking this money in for next couple of days, probably things would have been different. Now, on this high that I got the money, maybe it'll continue for 1 or 2 more days. Over to you.
So, despite the austerity, inequality, poverty and the debt, Professor Chalani, they continue to fund terrorism. So, where have been the failings, if I were to say? I know if we were to begin from our own home with India, you've always maintained how we've lacked a strategy or a policy, a consistent policy towards Pakistan and terrorism sponsored by Pakistan. So, where have the failings been, especially from our end?
If you look at successive governments in India, you've never had a consistent Pakistan policy or a consistent China policy. Every prime minister who takes office seeks to reinvent the foreign policy wheel. I'll give you some examples. Vajpayee, he came to office, he took a bus to Lahore, he thought he could befriend Pakistan. Then, few months later, he publicly bemoaned that his bus to Lahore got hijacked to Kargil. He did not learn from his predecessors. He thought he could actually do what his predecessors had failed to do. Then he tried his luck with China. Again, he tripped. But that did not discourage him. In his last year in office, he again sought to befriend Pakistan. Then came Manmohan Singh. He made his peace overtures to Pakistan. And in return, he invited the horrific Mumbai massacre. And we did not even impose any cost on Pakistan for the Mumbai terrorist attacks. Then comes Modi. He lands in Lahore unannounced in late 2015. In December 2015, he thought that where Manmohan Singh had failed, where Vajpayee had failed, he could actually achieve friendship with Pakistan. And do you know what happened after he went to Lahore? The Pakistani military establishment was enraged that they thought that Modi was conspiring with Nawaz Sharif, the then Prime Minister. And so in response, they staged a series of major attacks in India, starting with Pathankot. And to investigate the Pathankot attack, we invited the ISI to come and join the investigations into the attack that the ISI had staged. So you can look at this just recent history, how successive prime ministers have not had a consistent Pakistan policy, and if I could, even describe how they have not even attempted to have a consistent China policy. So, to a large extent, the problems that we are facing with Pakistan and with China, to some extent, they are because of our own failures.
I think that's a very valid point. Lieutenant General Iyer, in January this year, in fact, to be precise, we were learning of these long-range ballistic missiles being prepared by Pakistan. That also led to sanctions being imposed by the United States. But how far did that go to curb Pakistan is what one is left wondering right now. Because remember, when the war began in Ukraine, Russia was sanctioned massively. Their assets were frozen, and that also went to an economic level. We've not seen the same happen in case of Pakistan.
Because Russia is, endowed with a lot of resources. When Russia was sanctioned, there was a feeling that Russian oil and gas will not get sold in the world, and Russia
of course,
will be.
they didn't get impacted.
So they managed to work around the system, and Russia was much stronger a nation than Pakistan. We can't compare sanctions on Pakistan with sanctions on Russia. That is one. Secondly, I don't think the sanctions.
They actually gunned for Russia, which I don't see happening for Pakistan when it's a fact that they are harboring terrorism.
Because, like Group Captain Vinod said, Pakistan is not anti-West. You must understand that. Till the time the West feels threatened by Pakistan, they will not go the whole hog. They'll make noises, all right. They'll say, we'll sanction you, we'll cancel your loans, we'll put you on the grey list. In my mind, Pakistan should have been in the blacklist 2 years ago. Pakistan should have been in the blacklist way back in 2011 when Osama bin Laden was found within 10 kilometers of the Pakistan military academy. There was no reason, and it was not that Americans found him one day. They knew about it for more than a year and a half before they actually went in and got him out. So it is something which we have to possibly make a little more noise. We have to not neglect our Western adversary, saying that he doesn't matter to us. Somehow, like I said, in the last 2 years, we became
But that's exactly what the US Vice President has said in his interview to one of the leading news channels in the United States. That we are not going to get involved in anybody's war.
So my larger point is, you started by asking, Quad. Quad is totally Indo-Pacific.
No, that's true. No, I was saying that this is just, the point behind asking that question was to actually say that this is just to actually use the analogy friends with benefits, because it suits you in the Indo-Pacific, which is why you've partnered with India over there, but it doesn't suit you when it comes to Pakistan. So we are not concerned about this particular conflict.
So when I can put my example to it, my last 5 or 6 years in service was since the time, the Quad started shaping up, and suddenly we decided that our, adversaries only in the north, west can be handled at any time. And in that window, possibly Doklam happened, then Ladakh happened, and we got fixated with China for definitely since 2020. And in that period, we have felt that Pakistan is already done and dusted with. Kashmir has been sorted out. We have abrogated Article 370. Normalcy has come into Kashmir. Pakistan has been dried up. They don't have the money to finance terrorists. We have been able to knock off all the militants or terrorists in the valley. Everything is hunky dory. In fact, last year we were, going gaga about the kind of, tricolors floating everywhere in Kashmir. We actually neglected Pakistan and his hold in some kind of such freak events inside Kashmir. And he's been able to, call the bluff and put us into a position that we are in today. I guess we need to ensure that all our, vulnerabilities are taken care of with equal amount of importance. And we can't just concentrate on one part of the world and be part of a world body just because the world feels that China is the next threat.
All right.
I feel, yeah.
I think you expanded it well. Group Captain Vinod, if you were to look at sanctions coming in from the United States, that's precisely the hypocrisy that I'm talking about. Whenever it comes to nuclear armament, that is a direct threat to the United States, but not terrorism.
See, let me tell you something, very simple analogy so that the viewers understand. See, for maintaining a consistent policy towards Pakistan is extremely, extremely important. Let me give you an example from my own home. My great-great-grandfather was Nambudri before then he converted to Christianity. But before he did so, in our Bhagavati temple, he has written and gone, this is how the marriage, padati jo hai, he has written and gone. Now, everyone may disagree. But down the generation, we had to get married in that mandir, in the procedure that he had written and gone 500, 600 years ago. So that is how it should be. Your presidents and prime ministers can come and go. Your policy has to be consistent because everything else now stems from that particular, selection and maintenance of aim. That is point number one. Point number two, and very important issue is that we need to understand ये जो peace का चूरन जो है ना ये पाकिस्तान के साथ बिकता नहीं है. They have shown it to us umpteen number of times. You can be peaceniks and go them and tell Babar go back 8 times. The 9th time he'll come back and make a Babari Masjid, and that we have seen. And if we have not learned from that lesson, I think there is something seriously wrong in our psyche. We have to, change our thought process that the peaceniks and peace ka churan does not work with Pakistan. Pakistan understand, Garhwali mein wife se Garhwal mein kahavat hai. थोड़ा मारे बहुत रोए बहुत मारे चुप तो इनको ना बहुत मार के चुप कराना पड़ेगा. That's the only way they will learn. There is no other way they will learn.
Clearly, because, the financial sort of investments are just a mirage for the global community. And that's why I think I just want to have closing thoughts now. And that's why, Lieutenant General Iyer, I want to ask you, what will end this cyclical nature to the IMF bailouts, which we've seen happen for over 7 decades?
Before that, I just want to add one thing to what Group Captain said. When Pakistan lost the 71 war, they never accepted that loss. They have been trying to find at least one small occasion when they can, redeem it. Unfortunately, whatever they tried, whether it was Zia or thereafter it was Musharraf or now this gentleman, they never forget it. It's something I equate it with India beating Pakistan in ICC cricket matches and always beating them in all wars that they have fought with us. They can never win. As far as the IMF bailout is concerned, I felt had this bailout not happened today, he would have had to off-ramp it in a day or two. He had no other choice but to get off the horse. At this state, he could not survive. This particular victory of sorts which he will claim.
Yes.
I am sure DG ISPR is going to go gaga about it. All his briefings will be talking about, how the world order does not see Pakistan as a terrorist state, that he's been able to get, vindicated by getting the bailout.
And that's why I was highlighting that it's beyond just $1 billion, There are ramifications to it.
The only good thing that happened is we didn't vote against it, we abstained. That was one way of, registering our protest, but not because otherwise you would have given even more scope to try and tell people that look who voted against us. Abstaining a vote does not mean that you're necessarily against.
Okay.
I feel next 2 days he's going to have the upper hand and we should be prepared for it. We have to find ways and means to put him down again. It's like a wrestling match.
I'll have to leave it at that since I'm running short of time. But many thanks to you, Lieutenant General Raya and Group Captain Vinod, and also Professor Chalani. It has been a pleasure to have you on this discussion. And before I call it a wrap, CNN News 18's Zaka Jacob spoke to India's former envoy to Pakistan, Satish Chandra, on the internal turmoil inside Pakistan amid the escalating tensions at the border. Can Pakistan afford a war with India? Listen in.
I'm now joined by former diplomat and former Deputy National Security Advisor, former High Commissioner, Mr. Satish Chandra. Ambassador Satish Chandra, thank you very much. You speak very rarely to television channels, so thank you very much for joining us here on CNN News 18. I just laid out the context of what has happened over the last 2 weeks and where we stand as of today. What is your best assessment of what the situation is right now, and more importantly, where do you see it moving over the next 24, 48 hours?
Good to be with you, Zaka, on your channel. It's a pleasure to interact with you. Well, actually, what's been happening is a repetition of the playbook over the decades. India has always been extremely restrained, to a fault often, in terms of retaliatory steps. I think all of us are very well aware that we have been targets of terrorist actions by Pakistan, and in most cases we have not retaliated, and I think that's been a fault and perhaps has encouraged Pakistan in the belief that they can literally get away with murder. So what has happened, I think there's been a change since with the Modi government in terms of the actions that it had taken in 2016 and 2019. First the surgical strikes and then Blackout. And this has gone a notch higher in terms of depth at which we have struck across Pakistan in retaliation for the Pahalgam attacks. And it's been nine camps which has been struck, both in some in POK and some in Pakistan, Punjab, the most notable being Muridke and Bahawalpur, where the terrorist camps were taken out. But as you mentioned ab initio, and as has been underlined by the government of India, that our action was, the kinetic action, was extremely restrained in terms of the fact that we did not hit the military, the Pakistan military, which many feel perhaps we should have, but we did not in the interest of being extremely restrained. We only went for the proven terrorist hideouts from which terrorists had been attacking India from time to time, and also during the Pahalgam incident. Now, the Pakistani reaction, as you indicated, rightly so, has been escalatory, openly, blatantly escalatory. And I do recall from the times when I was in Pakistan, and in fact it is documented, that then Air Marshal Ashgar Khan had said that all the wars with India by Pakistan were initiated by Pakistan. So let's be very clear, I am not surprised, because I have dealt with Pakistan for much of my life, that this is the standard playbook of Pakistan. They will escalate, they will lie, they will try and say that India is escalating, whereas the contrary is correct. Just like they keep saying that they are really had nothing to do with terror, and I think everyone knows the score on that, not only India but the rest of the world. So I don't need to say anything more on that score.
But the escalation towards what end? Now, when India did the operation and it said, look, we're taking a non-escalatory step, and underlined, the army statement underlined, we're not targeting any military installations, we're not targeting civilians, I thought that was an exit option or an off-ramp for the Pakistani army. But by doing what they did last night, and clearly, as you said, it's an escalatory step, what are they trying to achieve?
I think you must understand two things that are happening in terms of dynamics in Pakistan as I read it. Number one is that the army has lost face in terms of what happened because of our strikes, and they want to prove a point. The army is also very badly divided. In fact, the whole country is divided. So they are trying to somehow, in some way, establish that they are one up on India. That is the endeavor, and they are not going to succeed. And the second point, which is more intrinsic, and I am sorry to say that unfortunately, many of us in India have failed to read Pakistan right. I mean, there is a whole army of people in India saying we must engage dialogue with Pakistan. Yes, that's correct, if Pakistan were a normal country. And again, I will merely relate a conversation or some conversations that I had during my stint in Pakistan as High Commissioner in the 90s. And when I spoke to some people whom I knew rather well within the system, and I said, look, by creating these terror camps, you are actually going to end up hurting yourselves. And in fact, Hillary Clinton also said later on, much later on, something to similar effect. Well, what was the reaction I got? And that's what made me absolutely very, very pessimistic about the future of our relationship. The response was, we don't care as long as it hurts India. So that's the game that they are playing. But, you know, clearly they are not going to, in quotes, win this. Because what we have seen in the last 3-4 days is that they are getting and continuing to get a lot of egg on their face. And if I may go off script a little bit from your query, I think that this could be very easily sorted out if the international community appropriately pressurized Pakistan. You know, they are going around the world with a begging bowl.
Correct.
And if assistance was stopped, this Pakistani foolishness would also stop. It would be temporary because this is the use of terror against India is a default option as far as Pakistan is concerned. And Zaka, I'll be prepared to discuss with you on a much longer show as to what really we should be doing over long term with Pakistan.
I just want you, since you mentioned international community and the leverage that the international community has on Pakistan, tonight there is the IMF meeting which will decide whether Pakistan gets a tranche of, I think, about a little over $1 billion from the IMF. That is straight up leverage. Why is the international community not saying that, look, we're not going to give you this money until you correct your behavior?
You are absolutely right. If this is the 25th time, I believe, that Pakistan has gone to the IMF for bailout. They are living from barely hand to mouth. And it's not only the IMF. It is our friends in the Middle East as well, the Saudis, UAE, and you name it, I'm not going to talk to the Chinese because they have another ball game at play. But the rest of the world, yes. If they were to tell Pakistan, you continue this and you're not going to get $1 more, you'll see this stopping. And, but this is the reality with the international community. That's how they are playing it. It's unfortunate, but this is a reality. And I have always believed that at the end of the day, it is up to India which will have to sort this out with Pakistan itself. Yes, we should do what we are doing. I know we are also going to be, because we are prominent members in the IMF and the World Bank and so on, and in the international community, and our weight is much, much greater than what it was at the time when I was in Pakistan in the 90s. And so we will have a say, and we must have a say. But I may also add something which people may not have paid so much attention to, which is what I have long advocated, that actually, at the end of the day, we have used our Brahmastra, which is keeping the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. This is something which I have been advocating in somewhat similar form over 2 decades plus. And I think that is what will ultimately make Pakistan, in the longer term, even the medium term, bend. They will have to do that because otherwise that country can